G'day citizens, welcome to the Inforunners. I'm Execute and only Execute today, so I'll be running solo for this one. Okay, it's telling me it's not running on Twitch. Give it a second. And now it's running on Twitch. Cool, sweet. Right. Okay, so I am running solo today, so there will be teething issues. Mr. Algrid, I woke up and I had a message from him just saying that he wasn't feeling the best and he wasn't able to make it today, so very last minute. And that is very unlike him. So I think we can safely say that he did not intend for this to be the case because he is very, what would you call it? Not that way inclined. So I'm doing my usual things that where Agrid would be talking to you while I'm trying to get this stuff organized. So we've got some things where I've got to grab different YouTube chats and stuff so I can see what I'm doing. It's usually what I'm doing at this point. There we go. So that's fixed. So now I can see you guys on this screen. Twitch is going and we'll get the bot up in just a second. So yeah, I don't know exactly what's wrong. He just said he had to pull out. And I was like, okay, well, hopefully, you know, it wasn't too ugly or something. Made him feel sick, but whatever. And we'll see what he's doing. I've also got, tomorrow around this time or in a few hours time, I'll be on Captain's Table, with Paul helping him out. He's trying to raise funds to go to CitizenCon because he's had so many people asking him to go to get there. So yeah, I'm gonna go on there with him and we're gonna talk about ships for Invictus. And I said to him, like, I'm still trying to raise some money, so maybe me and him will do some work together in the future to try and get some funds going to get us both there. It's a mammoth undertaking for me to get there. Like he's talking about how it's costing him about $3,000. I think it's costing me close to $5,000. It's costing a lot more than it would have cost like it probably would have cost me $3,000 to go to LA, but the UK is just that much further and that much more expensive because just the way things cost and work out for the Australian dollar. Anyway, right, let's get the bot up. That's the other thing. Because I'm running solo today, I thought it might be a bit interesting is if you guys can be co-hosts with me. So if you would like to, jump on the Inforunners Discord and jump in the waiting room. I'll eventually have one of the mods jump on or get someone to voice check your microphones and stuff. But in the meantime, I'm just going to take the gamble. So if you'd like to ask a question in voice, get in the waiting room on the Inforunners Discord. There is a link, should be one in the description below, or I believe you can go !Discord on both YouTube and Twitch now. I finally got off my ass, got that working. And then yeah, you can just jump in voice and I'll take your question directly, and we'll see how that goes. What's the worst that can happen? It'll explode in my face, I'm sure. Other than that, I will get the bot going and we'll get on to the questions. Right, give it a second. And she's done. All right, we got it. All right, Waffle's right there in the waiting room. Oh, let's get Waffle in straight away. All right, I'm gonna have to set your role, Waffle. Hang on. Give me a second. This is gonna be a pain in the butt, I've just realized. Because I'm gonna have to drag you out and then drag you back in. All right, Waffle, try speaking now, bud. Waffle, you there?
Yo.
All right, how you doing, man?
I'm doing alright. Yourself?
I'm running solo, so it's awkward. Well, Agrid might have done himself out of a job. If I can do this without him, do I need him anymore? I guess we find out. We find
Maybe
out.
not, man.
No. Well, I might move it back to Thursdays. I've been saying I want to go back to Thursdays, but we had to move it to here because his school gave him a really shitty schedule, and yeah, it's just not as good for us. Like Thursdays was kind of like our day. There wasn't really anyone else around there, and now I feel like we're directly competing with a lot of people, and I just preferred it on Thursdays because it was also closer to ISC and it was all combined. There are certain advantages though, like Agrid likes the fact that we kind of got a free video out of it because we just quickly before he goes to school, we do that reaction video. So channel-wise, it's better, but I don't do this for monetization or the channel, so to speak. I do it because I really enjoy doing it. So it sucked a bit of the enjoyment out of it for me, if you know what I mean. And I think I don't know if you guys see that, but me and Argon are very passionate about this game. And if you lose a bit of the passion, you know, it affects the content, if you know what I mean. Anyway, Waffle, what's your question, bro?
I wanted to know your current thoughts on 323 with your biggest positive and your biggest negative.
Biggest positive is definitely some awesome quality of life improvement rolling over from Squadron. Even just yesterday, there was a notable performance increase from the day before. Like I got an extra like 20 frames per second, and I've had a quick look this morning. The messages of the day for stuff like in the testing chat are saying that they've got all these performance improvements coming. So I would expect it to be coming sooner rather than later. They're already talking about moving to wave 3. And we know there's 5 waves. So, and they were talking about doing other waves over the weekend. So we might find a PU or potential live release sooner than people realize. And I was listening to Paul yesterday, and I'm like, Paul, I don't think you've played the latest patch, because it was way it had a notable step up performance. As for a negative, I think you know what I'm going to say because you and I have talked. There's just not any gameplay in it, and that we don't already have, type of thing, right? There's no, besides I think distribution centers. So it's taking the same gameplay we've got and kind of adding other people to the party, type of thing.
Yeah.
But they've been really buggy in the latest testing, so it's not finished. It's not kind of ready for that prime time yet. But it's getting there, right? It's getting there. But for me, as a like, and I've said this to you before, it's almost like this Eye of the Storm with CitizenCon. So from Invictus to the following Invictus, all we had was really CitizenCon. And I know that's only is like a really relative term because it was probably the best CitizenCon we've ever had. But what a dry spell. Like if you like even last week was talking about Arena Commander features that we knew about from CitizenCon. Like it's just been this massive shadow from CitizenCon of them talking about the same things. And Disco did say at the end of CitizenCon, I do not know what I'm going to show you for the next 6 months. But it's got to be a switch real soon into the Invictus mode and teasers of things to come for that. So what are the ships that we're getting? What are, you know, well, that's what I would be doing. I would be lining up things to say what type of ships are coming, give us a bit of a preview, things like that. But does that answer your question? I don't know. I feel like I'm waffling because when Agrid's not here, I feel like I gotta fill the dead air. But anyway, he's usually better at that than I. Do you have another question or anything you want to talk about, I guess?
For now, no.
No? All right. All right, I'll just put it out to anyone else. You can drop out of the Discord whenever you want, man. Just drag yourself out if you want. Anyone else that wants to ask a question, feel free, or I'll just start taking questions off the stream. Right. And if you want to, if you want to get in voice with me and ask questions just because Agrid's not here today, that would do me a huge ass favor because this is very awkward talking to myself. Right. Ryan E says, question, will the Zeus release with Invictus? Yeah, this is a really, this is like, could go either way, couldn't it? They could release it early because it's fairly done. But what version of the Zeus is done? Are all variants done? We haven't heard about all the variants. And it's essentially promised for 3.23, you know, promised for CitizenCon, much like what happened with the and the name is eluding me, and I'm having a total brain fart. The Crusader Spirit. So yeah, so in that case, that was announced at a CitizenCon and came out the following CitizenCon, and that's what's meant to be happening with the Zeus. But that said, the spirits were done in June or July. So they were done and they kind of sat there for a few months as well. We know that they've held on to other ships for multiple, like the Spirit was held on, not the Spirit, the 400i was held on to for like 2 years. So it could go either way. I'm more likely to err on the no, it's coming at AIE or CitizenCon, as I should say, because that's when it was promised. We know that they are roughly, if you saw last week's stream, they have like 10 ships wrapping up through the monthly report, but I very quickly broke those down, and the numbers drop very quickly when you realize, if you listen to the things that we know they're working on. I think I got it down to about 2 new ships that we didn't know about, and they're the 2 from, ironically, from Invictus that we would need. So yeah, but that kind of answers that question for you, Ryan. AKE Shaken says, how likely are you to see a Polaris release at Invictus launch week without engineering? I don't think we are going to see a full working Polaris. I think you are more likely to get something akin to the Javelin tour, if anything, or something on the floor that you can walk around or go inside potentially. But I don't think it'll be fully functional, and mainly because there are many steps now to making a vehicle work. Like you've got the whole damage pass, the derelict pass, and all that after it's kind of finished, and you even got to add that to the Zeus, by the way. They say they're polishing it, but there's now phases after that. It's not just like it's finished because it's polished. You've got a couple after that as well. So the Zeus is not done. It's still got a few steps to go, and same with the Polaris. It's yeah, it really, to put it in players' hands, essentially, it's the same problem that the Javelin and the Idris have. Is it's so big. If you think about what happened with the Reclaimer when the Reclaimer first dropped, people would go on the server and everyone was spawning the Reclaimer because they wanted to look at it on their own in their own Reclaimer, and it crashed servers because they couldn't hold that many Reclaimers on a server, and it just kept dying over and over. Now we're talking about an Idris and a Polaris. They're, essentially bigger again. The same thing's going to happen. We really need server meshing to lessen that load. And that is it's not the Polaris itself so much. It's the gatekeeper is server meshing, and the plan for that is mid-year. So I think that puts it behind Invictus based on what they've told us. So I still think that's probably why CitizenCon is going to be so big this year, because they're hoping to have, they showed us server meshing last year and they want to have it fully functional. And that's just on the Star Citizen side, without even going into all the Squadron 42 stuff, right? So I think that's what I'm kind of expecting at CitizenCon, is fully functional server meshing. Them kind of going, hey, cool, guys, we've got the foundational tech for Star Citizen going. Now let's roll out all those planets. Oh, by the way, here's some base building. Oh, by the way, here's the Galaxy working with that module that we wanted to sell you guys. Oh, by the way, you can buy that module now. Oh, by the way, you can buy a base building Galaxy LTI for $450, blah, 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 whatever it is, That's kind of what I'm expecting. So, yeah. Tell you what, though, I really can't read chat and answer the questions at the same time because too many things at once. But I will try to. Next question is from the same person. Ask him questions about Algrid or what Algrid would think. Yeah, actually, I actually couldn't tell you what Algrid thinks, because we do think very differently. That's why this show works so well. Because we are very different people that, I would say, for the longest time we tolerated each other, but now we understand each other. And that's why it works so well, because you get these very two different viewpoints. But anyway, Aurelius Indominus question says, will they reveal more systems to travel like Odin or CitizenCon, or will it only about Squadron 42? Look, I'm going to be honest with you. We know that they've been working on Nyx. We know that they've been like that essential line of 5. I would be really surprised if like it would be rapid succession. Like, I'd almost expect every quarter we get a different system for the first little while. I don't think they're just going to go, here, have 5 systems, because there's too many moving parts and too many things that could go wrong, and then they might have to take things away. I think they will be a bit cautious at the start, but eventually we might see, you know, 4 systems drop at once after it's all proven and working, right? So it'll be a rollout, so to speak. So, you know, 1 step, 2 step, a sprint, you know, like a crawl before you can run type of thing. So yeah. Yeah, Magnus. Yeah, I've had a lot of people talk about Magnus. I actually kind of think it's like it's going to be that line, but then it's probably going to go in different directions. Kind of whatever they're feeling. And the other one I would say is different. There's two ways it can go, right? And I'd say it's multi-directional. Okay, thank you, Lemming. Appreciate it. Is multi. So what? There's 2 things, right? So there's art assets you've already got. Right, so think of all the tile sets they've done. For example, I'll just give you a quick one. We don't have lava and magma, right? So doing a planet that gave you lava and magnet in one area is great because then you get that to use elsewhere, but you can't do 5 of them at once. You can just do 1. So you might get one system that has a magnet planet, so they can use that tile set elsewhere, but other systems would be using ones that we already have. So they're going to go in multiple directions. And I don't know how to plan that out because I'd have to sit there on the star map and actually look at all the planets and go, right, so there's only 1 here, so this makes this, you know what I mean? That's going to take time to work out, and a long time. But you could, I'm theoretically, if there's a content creator that wanted to do that, you could sit down and use that as a very viable strategy to work out how it's going to roll out. Lava, did I say lava and magnet? No, I said lava and magma. But yeah. Man, I hope I did not say levitt and magnet. Right, my bad. If I did. Yeah, lava and magma is what I meant. As an example. But, you know, like we've got Microtech, we've got Hurston tile set, you've got Daymar that's similar to Hurston, so you kind of got that rocky, sandy one. You've got the big one still to go in Stanton, by the way, is ArcCorp, because that's got to be rolled back into a city planet thing. At the moment, it's just a giant Death Star city thing. Right, we need that city tilescape combined with actual planet set. That's a massive disconnect that we don't have right now. You know, you've also got gas giants. In the real world, so to speak, 75% of planets are meant to be gas giants. So they are quite a large number of planets that we will see in this game. I have no doubt. But they're not the best planets content-wise, because, like, are you going to have flying cities on all of them? More than likely, they'll have some kind of space station. You know, so that'll be their kind of thing. Yeah. Just letting you guys know, there's not that many questions here. So, again, this stream lives and dies on questions. So if you want to get your questions in today, please feel free. Because this is very awkward, me talking to myself like a crazy person. But yeah, also if you want to get in Discord and talk to me, please do so. Just I'm so lonely. No, I'm fine. Right. Next question is from Adrelis Indominus, who says, question, will they reveal more systems to track? No, that's the one I just read. Shit. Here Alex says, question, what would the you consider to be the minimal components of gameplay in order to be considered playable? I actually talked about this a couple of times. And I think we are really close to that now because of the new star map. Star map will give us scanning is the next step, so to speak, and that is what's missing. Mainly at the moment, the core gameplay is piracy going after something of value, and that ship that's got something of value being protected by escorts and bounty hunting type of thing comes off that as well. So you've got those 3 pieces. I want something, give me something. I'm going to go get the person that got your shit, and it cycles around. But at the moment, the police can't find the bad guys, and the bad guys can't find the person with the stuff. So it's it needs scan. You right? Hey, you right there? Hey, come and say hello. Just comes up and sits on the mouse. He knows how to find them, doesn't he? Oh, thank you, Arthur, for... Oh, no, that was Ryan E. $5. Thank you, Ryan. No question, but thank you. This is Jax. Pain in the ass. Wants milk, don't you? That's what you come here for. He's cute, though. And his sister's the other one. She's asleep on the bed. But he's always fighting. Look at his nose. Always fighting. Anyway. All right, you sit down. Go down there. Have a good day. Right. What's I saying? Hercules Hero Alex, what would you minimal components? Yeah, so yeah, basically scanning is the real thing that's missing. And I think the star map moves towards that. And I think it's also, we know they talked about bounty hunting about this time last year. That also requires scanning. They showed stuff moving towards putting the, the beds where you move people around almost like Han Solo. They showed the gameplay for that, so they've already worked on that. So I'd be expecting scanning and then bounty hunting this year. It's a Star Kitten. Never thought of him like that. Yeah, they kind of are, I guess. That'd be kind of cool. Aurelis and Dom says, question, will you organise a pub crawl in Manchester? I think there is definitely going to be pub crawls. A lot of them. Let's be honest. We booked our hotel yesterday. My mum was kind enough to do some searching for me in Algrid, and she got us a fairly good deal. Got us a couple $100 off because she travels a lot. So she gets some discounts because she travels so much. And she got us a hotel. I think it was about a bit over 1,300 Australian dollars, and that was for a single bed each. Me and Agrid are going to share a room essentially, but a single bed each. So it's going to cost me and Agrid, I think it was about 600, yeah, about $700 each, around that much anyway. Which is pretty cheap for a week. That's $100 a night. Australian, that's pretty cheap. That's if I went to a hotel here, it'd be $150 a night type thing. So pretty good. And then we've got to get the airline tickets next, and that's kind of the next part. So we're trying to figure out what we want to do. And Agrid's going to go on a trip afterwards as well because he's taken long service leave for 20 years at his work. I am more worried about the cost of staying there because the cost of food is like essentially everything's double for us. So if I go buy a Big Mac instead of it costing $5, it costs 10 type of thing. So I don't want to just drain all my finances, especially because it wasn't really on my travel itinerary, as in like it's not on my bucket list to visit England. Yeah, so I kind of want to look, like I've been hearing a lot back from the people. Like I talked to Expat, for example, because she's from Scotland and stuff like that, and I've talked to John Citizen and a few other people from over that way. And the one that keeps coming up is Scotland and Ireland. They're the two places that people recommend. But yeah, I'll probably get up to Scotland, and I was going to spend probably a week with John Citizen at his place and just relax. But I do hear a lot about England is very similar to where I live already. So yeah, it'd be kind of good to see the other side of the globe. But I just don't know what to do there, so to speak. So I'm kind of going in a little bit blind. Maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. Alex says, question, we know Agrid's old, all the ships except the Drake Cutlass Steel, but what ships are you planning to have in your fleet on launch day? So when I started out doing this, I basically went down the economic route. I thought, well, if I have all the economic ships, I can just basically use them to earn more money to buy more things. That's how I started out. And over the years, it's just kind of ballooned from there, and I've kind of grabbed ships that I think are good value, grabbed ships that I thought were cool. I can kind of go through them all if you really want me to. Like I can go through it, but yeah, it's just mainly, again, like I look at things like the Odyssey here in the background. I have a Carrack currently, but I'm heavily thinking about turning it into an Odyssey because I can earn back down to the Carrack. And on top of that, as big ships go, the Carrack is the most popular ship in the game, as in big ships go. Back when they did a vote, this is back when I think the Warden had just come out like a year prior, so it would have been like 2015, 2016. Yeah, the Carrack was like number 4 out of all ships. We know the Drake Cutter's come along now and obviously taken over that, and there would have been a few others over the years, but it just showed, like, for a big ship, it just showed how popular it was. Yeah. Well, again, so I'm just reading in chat, Bowler999 said, he's really unsure about the Odyssey, and that's because the way they sold it. They sold it as a carrot killer. They didn't really tell you what it was, and you have to kind of sit there and break it down, and again connect dots, which is what me and Agrid kind of do best. Because of the way we, brainstorm with each other or brainstorm in a group. Yeah, it's got a lot of potential as a ship. I think the downside for me is it's not the ship's so big. I really like Anvil as a manufacturer as well. So to lose the only kind of big ship we have out at the moment in the Carrack, but I will have a Crucible eventually, and I can get my Anvil stakes back. And also, you got to remember that earn down economy by having the Odyssey. I will eventually have a Carrack, and I believe the loaner for the Odyssey is a Carrack anyway, so I wouldn't be losing it straight away anyway. But I don't have to apply it. I can just sit there with the CCU and wait. I can do it on the very last day before release. There's no pressure to do that now. There's no reason you can't plan around all these oddities, so to speak. So yeah. Oh, Lance is in chat. No, he's in general. Lance, if you can hear me and want to ask a question, man, drop into the waiting room. Waffle, could you go check on Lens for me and just text message me if he actually wants to answer a question? I know you can hear me. Right. Thanks, Waffle. Next question is Macula Pravis says, what ship do you think will release unexpectedly next? It's definitely that hover bike, the Mirai Pulse and the Mirai Pulse LX. So you'll get a combat variant and a racing variant, and if I can actually find an image here, I think Space Tomato and I were going over it a while ago. Let me see if I can find it. It'll be back up here a little way. Yeah, so you can see, so this, what they did was they released a video on, is this going to work, or is it going to horribly, horribly murder me? No, it's going to work, but I'm just going to turn these things off from Algrid's camera because he's not here. Right, so this is a composited image of the video they released on Twitter, right? And this is clearly the Mirai Pulse, which has it also shows that it's kind of the gun variant. There are two variants from the yellow silhouette video. And I'm trying to find the other. I kind of need someone to link me this because I'm not going to be able to find it. Not quickly, anyway. I might have talked about it with the Arc Grid. Hold on. Oh my god, all the hotel stuff we've been talking about. Oh, this is going to take a minute. Hold on.
By the way, Lens does have a question for you, X.
Cool, thank you. Alright, I'll drag him up in a sec. Just after this one, yeah, I know he can hear me. Right. So, this is taken directly off the Pipeline Discord. I was trying to get the new name. SC Leaks. I still call it SC Leaks. But as you can see, so this talks about the Pulse LX, so that's definitely a thing. But if I zoom in here, and oh god, my fat head's going to be in the way. You can see that there are two different noses on the bikes. The gun one over here, which is obviously in this image, right? So that's the default variant, the Pulse, and then that makes this the Pulse LX. And you kind of go, well, what's this thing? And I'm thinking Racer, some kind of booster that pulls it along. The other theory I have is basically every time they've shown us this bike, it's fully side on. So I'll show my wacky theory, right? And I've only said this to a few other content creators, so I haven't actually kind of shared this, but this is my wacky, you guys can tell me how wacky this is, right? But the way I just explain it to people is I use this image here. I think I've even explained this to you, Waffle, haven't I? If you can still hear me.
You have.
Yeah. So I look at it like this, right? So these are one of those hover things. If you were to say this bike has it on either side like that, but instead of being those blades, it's like the little balls off the Fury. That's kind of what I think this bike is. I think it is, and again, we've had other sneak peek images, like, I've had people say that this is actually what was the Raptor, but I think it might actually be the bike from the back. And then again, this would be that kind of hover disc I'm talking about. And again, it's got the ball inside it, which is that Mirai Pulse or the Mirai, they've got that Cyan type of engine tech. So I think it's like two balls either side of a bike, essentially. And what makes that very different from every bike, if it is that, and again, this is my speculation, it allows it to kind of articulate more sideways, which would be great for a gun, by the way, because you can kind of strafe around and shoot at things. As for a racer, it would make it so it corners better. Again, like its Fury counterpart, but on the ground. But yeah. Anyway, that's my wild theory on the Mirai Pulse. That's definitely the next thing's coming because they've been talking about it on Twitter. If we go by what happened in Invictus last year, there were 2 vehicles and a ship, but generally you get 3 things. Generally, it's 2 at Invictus and 1 at Alien Week, but the last 2 years we got nothing at Alien Week. So it could just be 2 things and that's it. But we do know if you filter through what we know and what we don't know about those 10 ships, there are 2 ships that we don't know about. So they very well could be 1 alien ship and 1 kind of bigger ship. I still think if you go back to the Yellow Silhouette video, that advanced starter, well, it falls in that slot, you know. That's the only one that we can't explain. I think you're more likely to see that at the end of the year, like we've seen other starters at the end of the year, like the Cutter, the Pisces, and things like that. They all came at AIE. So I think that's more likely. I think whatever ship we're going to see that goes along with this one, something we've never seen before. Yeah. And there's just no leaks for it. That they are getting a lot better at plugging these holes. So whatever it is, we've never heard of. Well, again, technically speaking, is this 2 vehicles? Because it's kind of like the Pulse and the Pulse LX, much like the Fury. You know, we got 2 Furies, we got a Lynx, and I'm going to totally butcher what the last one was. It was a vehicle. It was someone will remind me at Invictus. I cannot remember what it was, but it was another vehicle, and it was the worst kind of sale they've ever done because it was essentially a snub with no quantum drive and 2 land vehicles. It was kind of the weirdest sale they've ever done, the most lackluster. Someone will remind me. What was the other thing? It was Invictus last year. No one knows? Okay. Someone will say in a minute, but yeah, well, again, some people would have really beat so we had the Storm. That's what it was. Yeah, the Storm. Because we had the Storm and then later we had the Storm AA. Yeah, right on the money. Thanks, 10. That's what it was. So we had the Storm, the Fury and the Lynx. They were the 3 that we got at Invictus last year. And that's a pretty lackluster lineup. Like it's the most lackluster they've ever had. So yeah. And again, we're off to a repeat of that. This is meant to be coming with 323. So say 323 drop this weekend, would be getting this because they mentioned it in an email to us about redacted coming with 323. That's that. That's the only thing that we have that they've shown off. So is that also mean that there are more things coming with Invictus? Potentially. We'll just have to wait and see. But I hope things have picked up. Now more people are working on Star Citizen. I hope that means a return to form. So that is the most long-winded way of answering that question I think I could have possibly gone. I just got a quick message here. I got to check. Yep. It's fine. Right. Back to the questions. Lens had one, didn't he? All right. So I'm going to roll Lens and do that. All right, Lance, can you hear me?
Yep, can hear you nice and loud and clear.
Cool. What's your question, bud?
Dear wise and wonderful Execute, please pass your wisdom upon us of when you think in-ship refining will be introduced.
In-ship refining. Yeah, it's priorities, isn't it? Like, what do you get for that, right? And I think it would be back when they go back to work on more mining stuff. I think there's, like, as I said at the start of the year, this year is clearly finishing laying that foundation for, you know, they kind of took the single player with all its foundations and they're rolling it over and getting all that foundation done for Star Citizen, and then they'll build it up. And clearly the biggest missing part is server meshing. It's also why bounty hunting's taken a back seat. And now the star map's been put in, you're going to clear, like, the clearest thing that gives the most gameplay is scanning. without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
Refining, what do you get for that? You know what I mean? I put that question, but yeah, but how but it's one slice of the pizza, you know, where when you do scanning, that improves the scanning mining, the scanning on foot, like it hits so much more for it. So again, what do you get out of refining? What would be better, refining or repair? And I'd go repair because it affects more things. You see what I mean? So refining, though it might be easy to implement because they've already got it.
Well, yeah, you've got a point there with the refining being only one loop, where the repair, it not only is it's a game loop, but it's a massive mechanic on game that they can now alter the economy.
Yeah, and you got to remember, when you're working with limited staff and limited resources, you essentially want to get the bang for your buck, right? Yeah. And so when you, like, we all live in hopium, like, I want this feature, and yes, it is like tangible that they could just half-ass it in tier 0 and go, you can now do it on this ship, right? I think the other little tip of the hat would be you'd hear something about the Expanse or some kind of, like, we know that it's in the Arastra as well, but I think we can clearly go. It'll probably be on the Orion as well, but I think you're eventually going to see dedicated refining vessels. So I think you will see a capital refinery. I think you will see a large and a medium as well. So I think it would probably, in line with the announcement of one of those, would tell me that it's coming.
Doesn't the Orion class as the capital refinery as well? Because it's not only just a mining, it's refining as well. So it's a 2-in-1.
Yeah, so I would expect it to be somewhat limited, though, much like the Starfarer is limited, because technically the Starfarer is a gas collector, right? But it has a refinery just enough to take the edge off so it doesn't explode, right? But then again, the Arastra does a lot more than it should as well. So maybe capital refining ships aren't coming. Maybe they only have the lower end stuff and it tears off and become, you know, maybe we aren't getting refining ships. I don't know. Again, we can only speculate. But I don't know, what sounds cool to you on paper? A mining vessel where it's and the refining all in one, or a massive mining vessel and a massive refinery ship?
Well, I mean, you know, it's all extra ships they can sell down the line, isn't it?
But it's also the gameplay they've designed. Is there enough gameplay in refining to have a whole dedicated capital ship just to playing that mini game? Or
I don't.
Well, that again, we don't know. We don't know what they've designed. Like, that's what I mean. Like, but we just put the thought out there so you guys can at least think about it. Like, I've personally,
we didn't know about the Raptor, so
well, the Raptor is a real thing, right? But like, it'll probably be a thing that drives around with AI. It's like a background set piece. I'm sure it's in Squadron 42, and you'll see it going down some street cleaning something, right? And they've just grabbed that art asset and chucked it in as a joke. But I guarantee you there's people that would do that, right? Like, I can see that as a mission where you're stuck on a planet. You know the janitor jobs they talked about? It's another janitor job. Where, it's Janitor 2.0, where they've upgraded you to the street sweeper so you can do it quicker and make more money. It's janitorial in a vehicle. That's all it is. You know,
instead of prison times on the mines, you have to go drive the cleanings, clean up the community service of cleaning the streets.
Well, instead of using the hand tool, you're using a vehicle, and then you go from a vehicle to the ship. And then the next one would be, we give you a ship and you go dump all the trash that you collected off at some planet. And again, they're just lending you those vehicles, or, you know, essentially renting them to you so you can get back on your feet.
Waste, isn't it? Trash or waste is something you can trade?
Absolutely. It's the same thing, you know, and I have no doubt at some point there'll be some kind of garbage ship that turns up, like it just collects everything, and like they will eventually have professions like that people just want to do.
Illegal dumping into a star or a.
Well, think about it in real life. Like, people that do those jobs actually get paid extra because they're considered as undesirable, right? So if you're desperate enough, you will do that because it gets paid more, you know? Yeah, like some of the trade, like there's a reason why plumbers get paid more than most tradies, because they're going to deal with shit, literally. You know? Yeah. Yeah, and I should know, my dad is a plumber, or was a plumber. He's retired now, but he was one, and that
same here.
Yeah, and he's a millionaire. I'm just going to put that right now. He's a millionaire. Not that he shares any of it with me, but very tight with his money. You know what old people are like. But anyway. Right. You got any more questions, Lance?
No, what I'll do, I'll jump down to general or the waiting room if anyone wants to jump in to Discord and check their mics first before jumping in, and I'll.
Well, I appreciate that, Lance. So
Yeah,
yeah.
so I'll just sit down there if anyone wants to jump in and check their mic and see if they're good to talk.
Yep, and just shoot me a message of their name and say they're good to go, and yeah, and I'll
Yep.
drag them up. Thank you so
Will
much,
do.
Lance. I really appreciate that, mate. Yeah, so if you want to, as Lance just said, if you want to ask a question in voice to help me out today, because there's just not many laggards off, so I'm kind of awkwardly on my own. If you want to ask a question in voice, just jump into the waiting room and Lance will check your microphone, and then when he gives me okay, I'll drag you up and you can ask your question. Right. Next one is from Parker XGPS, who says, I believe that's his org, but anyway, what main game loop would most help or would most likely be next? Yeah, as I said, scanning. Sorry, beat you to the punch there, Parker. But yeah, scanning is the most important one that I can think of, and I've been saying that for almost 2 years now. Yeah, we really need scanning, especially if you talk to any of the people that do piracy, because once piracy kicks off, it's going to force people to get escorts, right? So all of a sudden, all those PvPers, they don't need to PvP so much anymore because they're going to be actually helping people and doing PvP with the pirates. It's going to kick that all off. So instead of them just running around looking for people to fight, they're actually going to have a reason to fight. They're actually helping people. Holy shit, you can help people and not be annoying at the same time, you know? So it's going to kick that all off. And then you're going to get all these little aggression things going. You can see all the emergent gameplay that comes out of it. And that's just the core loop, and it all builds off that. Repair comes in, because now we've got to repair those ships that are in combat. You can see it all. It's almost like it just spirals off that main core gameplay loop. And I think that's why they've gone so hard on the start. Well, look at the things that they dropped. They dropped cargo, and cargo is such a massive thing. People would go, why have you dropped that? But I think the star map is more important than that because it leads to scanning. And I think scanning, believe it or not, is more important than cargo, because cargo is one of those valuable things that are needed, right? But we already have some valuable things in the game right now. And so scanning is more important than more of the same, which is more valuable things to be grabbed. So it would quickly come right up behind scanning, but it shows you the pecking order pretty quickly, I think. Let me know if you disagree with me on that one. You'll probably have to put in a statement, though, because, again, I'm driving solo today. But if you want to let me know that you think I'm wrong, let me know. What are we up to next? Do you think that the ground, so this is by Shift Werewolf, who says, do you think the ground ambulance that will hopefully show up, oh yeah, I forgot about that, totally right, show up during this year's just launch week, will perhaps have the wee woo siren sound, since it's on the ground and not in space? He's absolutely right. That is the other one that I totally forgot about for Invictus, the Ursa Medivac. He is 100%. Thank you for reminding me. I totally forgot about it. That is more than likely another vehicle coming in Invictus. So that's two. So we've got the Pulse and the Ursa Medivac. And so that leaves just a ship, almost like last year, right? And I would expect that that ship is Alien or Mirai. So it could be the rumored Mirai Guardian, but to get two Mirais in one sail, is that possible? A Mirai bike and a Mirai ship? We've never had, I believe we've never had two new things from the same manufacturer that are not a variant at the same time. Correct me if I'm wrong. Again, I could be wrong. I could be wrong on that. I know we've had the two Furies, but that's a variant. But have we ever had a ship and a vehicle, or two ships from the same manufacturer? And I don't believe we have. Drake, Cutter, and you are technically correct on that. And the Vulture was there too. Yeah, okay, I'll give you the Drake stuff. You're right on that one. So it was the Corsair. But the Corsair was announced beforehand. I mean, totally new at the same time. The Vulture was also announced beforehand, so that doesn't count. I mean, totally new, never heard of at the same time. I don't think there is. Yeah, I don't think there is. Correct me if I'm wrong. But, yeah, Ursa Medivac definitely going to have a place. And I think as we see more caves and bunkers come online, like distribution centers are just above, but once we start going under, I think vehicles are going to have a bit like clearly have a renaissance and they can go places that ships can't, right? That's essentially what cities are. They're where ships can't go, so to speak. They can't go on the ground level. They can't go under. So vehicles do have their place in this game. Almost like if you think back to the CitizenCon demo with the Constellation, that it couldn't go into that area because of the interference, and it had to land, and you had to drive the Ursa in. It's the same thing. If you can create a gameplay that makes it required, and it's not cheesy, and so going underground is not too cheesy, and going under the city and at ground level is not too cheesy, right? Yeah, I think vehicles have got a really good place in this game, and again, I can see that whole battlefield thing that they're going for. And I talked about shields years ago, and that wasn't confirmed to at CitizenCon. You can put down shield generators to protect your base. And again, things like the A2 can come along and drops bombs because it's a ballistic. It should go straight through the shield, like other ballistics. So the A2 will have this massive place in raiding bases, but all by the same count, so will A1s. So we'll have to wait and see where that goes. Hope that answers your question. I know I tangent like a mofo, but my brain goes everywhere. Citizen Ninja says, Invictus. I'm just gonna call it Invictus. Invictus around a month away, and 3.2 is coming out soon, TM. How many new ships and vehicles do you think we'll see released at the end of the next month? I think I just went through that, so I'll skip that one. Sorry, Citizen Ninja, just a little bit slow to the punch. The other guys beat you. Erman402 says, once Squadron 42 gets released, do you think they could go down an Activision-esque route like Call of Duty and make Arena Commander free-to-play like Warzone as the gateway drug into the Star Citizen universe with Squadron 42 and single-player campaign and the PU as multiplayer aspect? I think that Theaters of War is that multiplayer component for consoles. We'll get it as well, but it's the gateway drug to try and hopefully go, hey, you have a console and we're making this massively multiplayer online game. You could come over. The only caveat is you need a PC. And do I think eventually we could see Star Citizen on console? We could, but man, it's going to need some back end work, and you'd have to work like Microsoft and Sony are going to have to really want it to pull that off. And I think you'll see it on PC for at least a couple of years before they even tangibly start thinking about it. And more than likely, they'll get another company to kind of port it over. But it all comes down to success, does it not? Like that drives everything in you know, sequels. You know, if something goes badly, you don't get a sequel. If it goes really good, even though it shouldn't have gone really good, what's it called? Captain Marvel 2 or the Marvels, you know, like things like that. They don't go well, you know, and so they don't get a third one. So yeah, it'll all come down to success of Star Citizen is where it'll go on the consoles. And I think ironically, if you kind of think about it, I was only thinking about this the other week. When you look at the original Kickstarter video for Star Citizen, it was talking about how they were saying that PC games were dying, and you know, and space games were dying. And now, ironically, I think we go forward in time like 15 years. I would argue consoles are dying. The next set of consoles that are about to come out, and this is a scary thing, right? Don't have disk drives. They don't have physical media. There is now more negatives to that than positives because console games cost more. You can't sell them to other people if they don't have a disk drive. So you are only buying. You can never trade. You can never get any of your money back. Why would I want to pay more on something that I can't exchange ever? I can't sell my account. I can't just digitally keep them on my console and sell off the console to someone else. So it's burnt money. Now, if I'm going to burn my money, why don't I just do it on a PC where I get it for cheaper initially and I get a better quality game? This is why we're seeing that so much more people move to the PC, because they have made that model and screwed themselves. They got so greedy. Ironically, this episode was originally called Flying Too Close to the Sun. That's what they did. They did the Icarus. The console people killed themselves from greed. And once those non-disk drive consoles come in, it's going to get worse. They're trying to make it better to increase their revenue, but what they don't realize is they're pushing people out. Why would you want to put... Your greed is killing yourself. And we've seen it over and over and over in so many industries. Like, look at the quality of games and TV shows. You go back 10 years, go back 20, go back to the 90s. All the main popular shows on streaming are sitcoms. We don't make sitcoms. Because they don't know how to make them anymore. Because they just got so greedy that they can't make them. It's crazy. Anyway, I've tangented. I'm assuming Biggs is... I'm going to have to de-roll a lot of you guys today after this, because I've got to roll everyone every time I bring it. Right. Mr. Biggs, how you doing? Bigger?
How are you?
How you doing, man? What's up? What's your question, bro?
Hey, buddy. Let me mute. I was gonna say, so I'm excited about the larger server count. Like maybe if we're getting 400 or say players on a server, and I'm excited that that's gonna make organizational play more of a thing. And I think that one of the drawbacks now to organizational play is the time it takes to set up a play session. Like, can we get all our friends online on the same server and then in the same area, wherever the ship is that we're going to take out, to then go? So do you have any ideas that would make that smoother and funner, that wouldn't maybe break immersion? Because I think if you fix that, it'd be a lot more likely you get 6 guys on your Hammerhead or your Polaris or whatever.
Yeah, I think they're already kind of looking at it, and I think there's 2 things that speak to that. So the first one is Arena Commander. They've gone back because they know it's just so easy to get into Arena Commander. Get you guys in a group, bang, and you're straight into a tank battle. You don't have to fly out to a planet, summon all the tanks, and do all that shit that takes an hour to get started, and then someone disconnects, right? And then the second part is clearly stability, right? But they can't really get massive, server improvements to server meshing is working. Any work that they do now on a solo server is going to be discarded because server meshing is coming along. And then the next step on that is we're just going to static server meshing. Then we've got dynamic. So we're in this teething issue of let's get server meshing working. All right, now let's get it working dynamically. So it's how long is that going to take? And you're in a technology area where we didn't even know if it was possible until around about CitizenCon last year. So trying to go, how long is that going to take? And I'm like, how long is a piece of string? Like, and CIG will tell you the same thing. It's like, we don't know. It's like I'll give you $1 billion, Bigger. How long is it going to take you to cure cancer? And you would go, shit knows idea how long, right? Because we just don't know. We have to go find out all these things. There's too many moving pieces. It's kind of similar to what I said about what would be the planets after the line of 5. There's too much research to do there on the star map that you'd almost need a group of people to pull it off. Well, CIG would know, but they're the only people. You'd have to back engineer. You get my point, right?
Can I run a hopium by you, and you can tell me if it's a terrible idea or not?
Go ahead.
Because it kind of has to do with Death of a Spaceman too.
Right.
So what if hypothetically we have our Star Citizen who is persistent, but then we could maybe collect some NPCs or AI blades or something that we could add to our account, or maybe we could even buy them. And we could jump to those NPCs whenever we want to. And so if you had an Idris with maybe a bed open or a rack open, I could put my AI blade into that bed, and then you're like, I know that asset's there, and I could just jump to it in space.
So this is something me and Agri disagree on, but they're talking about removing bed logging. So essentially, it'll be like a normal MMO where you just log in and respawn where you started. And then Agri and I started to have this kind of talk. Was like, well, what do you do with beds? Like the Aurora's just shit now. It's a flying. What do you do with that? And I'm like, well, my brain goes to, you have to give it a benefit, right? So do you get some kind of rested buff when you log out in a bed, but you don't get a rested buff if you just log out? And does it essentially double your XP? Does it fix some of your wounds? Does you could start to think pretty quickly. You can give massive benefits to beds. It's like if I just sleep on the floor, I feel like shit. But if I sleep in bed, I'm more functional the next day. You get where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't sound like, yes, beds are now downgraded, but they still have a reason to exist. So that, you know, and you've got to make it a big benefit. So like when I sleep on the floor, does it consume all my food really quickly? Do I sleep in a bed, the food does, you know what I mean? Like you just got heaps of benefits to having a bed, and therefore beds actually become desirable again, right? So it is fixable. This is where Algar and I disagree. He just doesn't think they're going to get rid of bed logging, and I think he's living in denial, honestly, because they've kind of said bed logging doesn't work. We're going to have to get rid of it, right? And that speaks to your point earlier on about it just takes too long to get out and do shit, right? Like every time you die, you're sucked all the way across the system because you forgot to, you know what I mean? And like, I had it to me yesterday. I exploded for no reason as I went into a hangar after I'd flown all the way from New Babbage to, I think it was Hurston. And I'm like, I was infuriated. I just quit the game. I'm like, stop this shit. I'm not doing that again. That just took me, you know, half an hour and I wasted all my time. And it was on a bug, right? So it's performance. It's actually making quality of life improvements like the bed logging stuff and changing that. It's a sum of its parts. But again, I go back to almost the question Lentz asked, which is, it's got to come in an order. You know, what do you get for, you know, your bang for your buck, right? And that's why Star Citizen sat here for so long, not really happening, because they had to get Squadron 42 out the door, right? And that was one of the things. People didn't understand it from a financial reason. Much like us learning game development, as we've followed this project, we've also had to learn business because most of us just don't think that way, you know? So, yeah. I hope that kind of answers your question. If you've got another one, feel free.
No, I'm excited. I mean, I could talk to you about a lot of things, but
feel free, man. Go ahead. While I'm here, go ahead. Whatever you want to.
Well, more specifically, would it break the game if you had, let's say, 4 slots and I could jump between those characters just to bridge that space gap? So if, let's say, Pyro is a thing, and I have one of the tunes that I bought, and I don't even say if it's tune or it's an NPC that you promote or something that you grind to get, and that asset, which is a character, is on your ship, and I'm in Hurston, but I want to play with you in Pyro, so I just wake my guy up on your ship. Would that break the game? Or would people be like, this is awesome, now I can get into a gameplay session with my friends faster?
It really depends on how they interact with other people, right? So if I can be on a game and I essentially am playing with you, and the next second I log out and log into another account and I'm shooting you. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's essentially like stream sniping or something like that, right?
Sure.
But by the same technique token, I look at other games and they have other accounts and it's no issue.
I don't even know if it would need to be as structured as another account. Like, because I was thinking it could be just, you know, slotted into your main account. You can only be playing one at a time. Yeah. It really is just to fix that, the ability to play with your friends a little bit faster.
Yep.
Well, maybe that, you know, maybe it breaks immersion, because it does a little bit.
Well, you've got other things that come into account too. Like you can have rep levels in different areas. Are you in the different places of the world? Like if I switch over from good guy to bad guy and they happen to be in the same system, well, that's just lucky for me. But chances are I am, even though if I switch from good guy to bad guy, I'm a couple of systems away. By the time I get there, you could be gone. So,
right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, well, but I think you're thinking about it too separately. Like the way I think about it is, let's say it's different. Let's say if they brought back the holopods that you could get in your hangar and fly around in. So you only have one spaceman, but let's say he could take control of an asset like a robot.
So you're
in another system, and this is just so
you're talking about. Hang on, just so we're on the same page. You're talking about agent smithing.
Yeah, maybe. And only to solve the problem of that we can get together faster and play faster, you know.
So you're talking about taking over other people's NPCs on their ships, because that's the original concept of agent smithing is what it was. Where so if a friend wants you to help him out on a mission, he can kind of like put out a thing and say, hey, can you take control of this NPC for me and just come help me, because I want a human, not an AI, to pull this off.
Absolutely.
Again, it's the same thing, because that NPC will have a different rep grind to you. So all of a sudden you are helping your friend out. He gets the human part of you, right? But you are limited by the AI's rep grind. right?
Sure.
So he's
I mean,
probably
could somebody own that AI? Like your friend owns it or you own it, so you want to grind his rep up when you play it?
well. That was the other part of it. You could use your other character slots as NPC crew. That was one of the things that was brought up.
Yeah. Well,
So-
I don't think that would be fun. I wouldn't think that'd be a bad thing.
So I'll put it to you out this way, and it's the same thing as well as we were talking about doing anything that's new, like the server meshing is all R&D. It's the same thing. They will test the shit out of it and see what works. It may work, it may not. You know, they will figure out what's fair. Again, you can write something down on paper and it sounds absolutely amazing, and then you make it and it's not fun and it's shit and it's boring. You can, for example, if I explain Helldivers 2 to you on paper, it sounds shit. You go play Helldivers 2 and it's amazing, right? It goes both ways, you know. So, you know, like landing on a planet, shooting at bugs, and then you get on the ship and leave. Like it's you know, that's a short version, but
implementation is everything, right? The idea isn't
absolutely
quite as important.
yeah. Absolutely. So yeah, it really comes down to just how it's implemented, and again, like everything, like every form of game development that I was involved in was iteration and testing and refinement to make it fun. You know, if it's not fun, people are not going to play it. One of the hardest jobs as a game designer that I had, and I've seen several talks from people that worked on Diablo and Blizzard and other places, was learning. So it's a game I don't enjoy, right? And I'd have to pick one. And I remember one of the Blizzard people talking about it. He worked at Blizzard, but he didn't like Diablo, and he had to learn what made Diablo fun because he didn't like Diablo. So he had to see what other people saw in it, and that's one of the hardest things. If you are working on a game that you personally wouldn't play, let's be honest, that's going to be a thing, right? There'll be people that
the YouTube chat hates the idea.
What was that? So what did they hate? So just read out what they said.
They just did it. It would break the game. They said it'd be too easy to, you know, commit crimes on your NPC and then jump back, which is probably true. But if
again, they will test it. They will test it, and if it is what they say in chat, they won't do it. You know, or they'll put heavy restrictions on it. They'll find a way to like, how many things have we thrown at them and gone, that's not going to work, and then they've found a way to make it work. Like that's their job. These guys are like they are not like everything you and I could possibly think of. Trust me, they've thought of it and they've done it years ago, and they're in a massive group of developers. Like, this is their job. They don't like go to the desk office and type at the computer and then come home and talk about Star Citizen for 1 or 2 hours. They live, breathe, and this is their life. Like that's their job, you know. Much like this is my job. Like I you know, but again, me and our grid are never going to be able to compete with an entire global corporation of CIG. So yeah.
Well, thanks for having me. That was fun. It's my aspiration to get a fleet big enough to have you fix it someday. So I'll keep working on that.
Yeah, no worries. All right, Bigger, I'll just drop you back down to the waiting room, man. Thanks.
Thanks, buddy.
Right, Lemming, you're here. Yes, you can join me on voice, Lemming. No problem. How you doing?
Hi, everyone.
Staying out of trouble?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. All right. Well, you can help me with some questions today if you want. It's entirely up to you. Since Agrid decided that he didn't want to turn up today. No, I shouldn't do that. I'm going to be honest with him. I've been very lax on him since he had the collapse or the fall, and I am a little worried about him. And I think he's not. I don't know. Maybe it's not just coming across, but I don't think he's worried enough. Personally, like I'm like, well, you know, what caused the collapse? But yeah, he really thinks it's his heart, so we'll see where that goes. But I'm sure he'll talk about it if he wants to. Where are we up to? Man, I haven't been ticking. See, usually Argrid does this. He ticks them off. So I think that was the last.
Yeah.
Last one I did.
So which one do you think you answered last?
That one there by Erman42. Once Squadron 42 is released, I think we'll get an Activision-esque. So we're up to Cosmic Turtle if you want to read that one. Okay.
How do you expect to earn down in game if you don't have the money to even operate the capital ships that you do have? That's Cosmic Turtle.
Yep. So again, you would start with a ship that takes stuff out of the game, right? So an Orion, a Reclaimer, those economic-based ships that take stuff out of the game. And again, you can struggle solo. But let's be honest, this game is really pushing you. And if you have seen the engineering game that's coming, there are massive advantages to having other people working on your ship together over single seat fighters. You'll only have to get in and already, even at the level with just fuses, not even any of the other stuff, you can start to see how an A2 with the same number of people against the same number of people in Gladiuses, because they're working together. It is easier to be solo than it is to be working together. And I don't know, do you want to talk to that at all, Lemmy?
Yeah, so while it may not be prime, like we say this all the time. So like, let's say you have an Odyssey. I don't know why anybody would, but say you have an Odyssey.
Yeah.
That Odyssey can do 6 SCU box missions or delivery missions or whatever. Is it going to make as much as an Aurora doing the same mission? No, absolutely not. But it can. And it gets you that rep and it scales up. So that Aurora isn't going to work anymore when now your box missions are now requiring 32 SCU of cargo, or 64, or 100, or 3,000, or whatever. You can suffer along enough with a large ship to earn enough to get the reputation to be able to run the larger missions.
That's true. That's true. And not only that, having that ship would give you access to missions for that ship straight off the bat.
Exactly.
It's going to have to be that way, or you're going to be absolutely so gimped it's ridiculous. So there is a pay to progress. People may call that pay to win, but there will be a pay to progress element to it. But you might.
I do also.
But
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say it might be gated though. For example, it just gives you. So say it just gives you the Odyssey stuff. So if you go back to Carrick, like you buy a Carrick, you would then have to unlock the Carrick shit to do that as well. So I actually think there may be some rep that's locked to ships, not just players. I don't know. We'll see where that goes in the future. That's speculation on my part. You were going to say?
I'm actually of the mind of using referral ships that turn into like general use ships, like for example, the Cutlass Black, or ships like that will fill that smaller ship hole without having to pledge the entire ship.
Do you know, this is a tangent, but I was thinking yesterday about how they're filling up the medium ship lineup, right? So we've got close to 15 in there at the moment, right? Things like the Mole, the Zeus is coming, the Spirit, the Cutlass, the Freelancer. We've got some ships around that area, right? But when you go up to the large, we've got the Apollo is the smallest large. Then you've got the Corsair, the Mercury Star Runner, and the Constellation. That's a lot less. Why is that? Because they want to release it afterwards, so you'll hopefully buy that as a new ship. So I was sitting here thinking, going, what are all what are all the manufacturers that we're missing? So it's like, where's the well, I guess you could say the whole sea might fall into that area as well. But I was starting to think of okay, where's the Argo large ship? Where's the Consolidated Outline large ship? Where's the Mirai large ship? And it became really apparent very quickly. The Galaxy is a large one as well, but it's a size above the Connie. But you get my point, right? There's a noticeable gap there still. So just, planning for that as well.
So to most of the stream that doesn't know me, so I'm big into CCUs. I like upgrading things. I like building ships. That's kind of my enjoyment in the game.
He essentially learned what we taught him and then surpassed us. That's what he did.
So I am having an internal conflict right now with the Entrepreneur pack. It's a great pack. I have one in buyback. And I'm looking at the ships in it, and I'm like, well, there's really only one ship in there that I really want, and that's the Vulcan. But all the other ships in there could easily be turned into their large counterparts, which I think is going to be kind of the sweet spot. So the point of this is that I think those large ships are being held back because they are going to be the sweet spot.
I'm trying to bring up the Insignia pack. So the
I can tell you what it is. It's a Hobby,
I just
a
want to bring
Vulture,
I just want
a
to bring
Vulcan.
yeah, I just want to
Okay.
bring it up so people have a visual, that's all. Insignia. There we go, Insignia pack. I've got one here on Star Hanger, so we could probably have a look at that one. Hang on. Right, this is probably overpriced, so do not take the price into account. Oh, it doesn't even tell you what ships come with it. So Prospector, Vulture, and Vulcan. Is that whole B?
Yep, Hobby.
That's
And then an Ursa for some strange reason.
yeah, that's the image I want. That one there. Probably just zoom that in. Yeah. So that's kind of what you're looking at. And how much is that?
It's 600, I think. Yeah, 600. I'm pretty sure it's $750 in ship right now.
See, I
or
look at
something like that.
I look at all those and go, I'd rather get one ship.
I'm in the situation of needing to burn credit, so that's why I'm looking at it.
What big ships do you own?
A lot.
Do you have like the Kraken and an Aegis and a Javelin?
No, but I don't want those.
All right, yeah. Again,
Like-
personal choice.
Yeah,
But that's where I'd be
So-
going. I'd be investing into that bigger ship because it's going to multiply in value.
no, yeah, definitely.
Because eventually, your org or whoever you end up playing is going to want one, including
That's
yourself.
true.
Yeah. So I like I had credit as well that I ended up buying more to get the Kraken, but I really wanted a Kraken. Thank you, Arthur Vandal, for the $8 Australian. Appreciate it, mate. But yeah, I don't know. How much have you got to burn? If you can give me a rough arena, if you don't mind saying.
Well, I'm planning on using a subscriber coupon on it, so
Oh,
that
okay.
pack is going to be down to 500.
Okay. So you got about 500 credits to burn.
Yep.
Okay. What about a bigger ship like a Pioneer?
I don't want that
Don't want it?
gameplay.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Well, this is something you and I have never talked about. We've never actually
Yeah.
sat down and talked about what you want to do in game, which is where all Fix My Fleet start. We can look at this on the side later if you want. If you don't want to talk about it now.
No,
but-
yeah.
But yeah. Because I can think of a couple of ways you can fix it actually. So yeah, we'll go.
Yep.
We'll go through it later. Right. Back over now. I don't have a solo button, so I do it by hand every time I.
Okay, the next question. With modularity arriving, do they have the tech needed now to make the cat's cab detachable as a precursor to figuring out the more difficult modular sections of the ship?
Yeah. So me and Agra talked about this last week. There's some inherent problems that ship needs worked out, and any work they do on it may be thrown out if things are changed. I almost think that ship needs a fairly restructured rework. And it really comes down to how the modules work, right? Because you look at the Galaxy, it's this one big kind of rectangle room. But as soon as you look at the Caterpillar, if you were to make that one room, it's one really long, weird ass room, right?
Yep.
And so for me, I'm like, do you redo the ship so it's a box, kind of like the Galaxy, because it's just more convenient for a room, or do you inherently kind of cripple the Caterpillar, and it's these small little modules, so you get lots of small little variety where the Galaxy is just getting this big one that changes over. So it's like a Swiss Army knife where it's almost like hand tools versus vehicles type of thing, where the vehicle is better than the hand tool because it's a vehicle, and then the step up after that is a ship. So you'd be essentially downgrading the Caterpillar because it's got versatility over just one big module. And I think most people in most cases would take the one big module because it'll just be better. So when you look at it like that, I go, well, they've got to fix that on the Caterpillar, so they're not going to do all the lifts and elevators and doors and all that because they might not exist in the rework. And then the command module, well, they're not going to do that because the whole ship might change. And I think that's kind of where the Caterpillar is. It's in this really weird holding pattern because I think they realize they need to do well. Maybe they want to go that way. Maybe they haven't decided. You know, Lemming, I put that back to you, man. Is that kind of where you're at, or are you somewhere completely different?
I actually think the Caterpillar could go one of two ways. I think that the cab detaching in and of itself makes the ship modular enough to still be considered modular.
Yes.
I think the only other real way that they could go is the entire current cargo module being changed into one modular. One modular. So the entire.
Yep.
I don't want to.
I would include the nose.
Demonetized.
I would include the nose. I would include the nose in that. By the way, I would say the whole front end.
Yep.
And then, as I said, you'd have to remove a lot of the doors and stuff. But it becomes this really weird, long-shaped room. And like I start thinking of housing and stuff like that. It's essentially like having two corridors in a house, or a really wide corridor. It still limits what you can put in there. Like you can't put like think of what's in the Galaxy and try and put it into that same space.
I just think of like a train. So
that's a good example.
Passenger trains that, on one side there's a hallway and then everything else is the cabin.
Well, it's already in the Caterpillar right now. When you want to walk through that ship, it's got a whole gangplank thing up the top because you have to be able to get past the cargo, and it just makes the ship kind of weird. And it is exactly. I'm thinking of that. Was it the train? It was on Netflix. They remade the movie, and it was that train that it was like 5,000 cars long. The Eternal. What was it called? And the original person in it was the same guy that played Captain America. God, someone will.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Man, someone will remember it. It's about a train. And basically the whole world freezes. Snowpiercer, thank you very much. That's exactly what it was. So it's like Snowpiercer. That's exactly what I'm thinking of. And they had it was a really interesting episode because they only had 5 cars in the whole thing, the whole set, and they would just reconfigure the cars. But every car had to be able to walk from one end to the other. And they also had, much like the Caterpillar, under the bottom of the train, they actually had like a train within the train. They had like almost like a cable car thing along the bottom of the train. So what
I can see that.
What do you do with the Caterpillar? Do you leave that gangplank thing at the top? Do you know what I mean? And it takes up a space in every module. But the Galaxy, it doesn't have that problem. It just has 2 doors, one at each side. That's it. Yep. So you can see the drawbacks to the Caterpillar's design pretty quickly, but it does make it unique, right?
It does.
But again,
it makes it Drake too.
Yeah, but again, if you extend that to be one huge room, all of a sudden you don't need the gangplank because it's a room. So that does remove a lot of that stuff. Do you need the nose and the doors to open on every module? Do you just need let's say it's a search and rescue module, or even if you look at the first modules where they had the cannon, does it just have a little hole at the front where it fires people out, and the rest of it is closed off? And does it have and in one spot along there, does it just have like an airlock on the side? So essentially, you've just got this it does change a lot of things and the requirements of it. I'm starting to think about it now laterally. And you can do it in a way where you'd get away by removing the gangplank. The cargo one would still need it, right? But all the other variants, they don't need it. Oh, there is one requirement, actually. The turret at the front. But if you switch the turrets around and put the turret at the front on the bottom, it wouldn't need the same requirement because all you need is an access hatch. So you don't need a ladder to get up to the top. You just need an access hatch. And then the turret that's on the bottom would go to the top. Problem solved.
Yep. I mean, there's so many ways that they could. And
yep. Oh, sorry. Craig on just said that's a good one too. Craig on just said make the front turret remote. Problem solved. Yeah, that does it as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, it does.
Yeah, it was Chris Evans.
The Cat is one of those ships that has more questions than answers, at least in my mind right now.
That's why I've held on to it. Because it was just this plethora of questions on how they're going to do stuff. And you can see that they've pulled things out of it. Like they've pulled stuff out of that and put it into the Kraken. That was originally the mothership for pirates. There is no way that's a mothership. It's so small now, it's not funny. But do you know what I mean? Like that's where the Kraken come from. They've just up gunned and up maneuvered the caterpillar to what it needed to be. That's what the Kraken is, essentially. And I think we'll see that with other ships coming down the pipe too. You can take some other manufacturer and make their bigger ship too. Like I sat there last week and I was theorizing, what is that Drake Corvette going to be? And that's where I came back with the thing about the hacking, right? Because that's missing, and it's a very Drake thing with the Herald, right? The only essentially it's an upgraded MSR, and they're the only other one. So you've essentially got the Herald and the MSR, but we are now missing that, because the MSR, by the way, was meant to be a medium ship that grew into a large ship. That's why the Spirit exists, right? So now we don't have a medium hacking ship. That's not in the lineup at all. Who's making that? Is that a Drake? Is it another Crusader? I would say neither, because it's not there.
My answer to almost all, which manufacturer would fill in this gap is Consolidated Outland. Because I want more Consolidated Outland ships.
Well, they're like Tesla. You know, that they fill gaps. They look for trends and gaps and fill it. So yeah, I could absolutely. And let's be honest, there are not a lot of Consolidated Outland ships, and I think they know that a lot of people want them, and that's kind of why they're held off, because we theorized for the longest time, way back in the beginning, that if you were going to maximize your profit, how would you do it? You would make it from the shittiest ships to the best. It's just pure logic. And basically you would go capital, small, medium, then large. And that is very much along the lines of what they're doing, if you actually look at it. We're now seeing the medium lineup fill up, and the last lineup that'll fill out is the large. Because the medium and large, we always consider the best because they scale up and down, where a capital can only scale down, and it's the worst because it requires the most amount of people. But it also can be the best, as in makes the most money. But it's the hardest to get. Getting people together is always the hardest thing, and that's why we knew they were going to be the worst. The easiest is the small, but it's also the worst because you get the least amount of profit. So as soon as you go up one from that, easy to get a few people together, bang. But the best is the large because it scales down and up, just like the medium can go down and up. But the large is the sweet spot because it gets almost to where the high stuff, like the Arastra, almost gets to where the Orion goes, but not quite. But the Orion will absolutely decimate when you can get people. But you're going to get more people in an Arastra more frequently than you are in Orion. But when you get those... Here I'm going with it, Lemming. You know this, but... And
I think that was a lot of the draw of the Arastra to the people, for that poll that you ran.
Yep.
It was people thinking with their heart, and I'm one of those people rather than my brain. I don't know how much the Orion is going to be used, which gives me pause, and I don't want it to be a hangar queen because it's huge.
Well, it's got some difficulties with it. You can't park it. You can't. You'll be able to dock it with a thing. So there are certain drawbacks, but it is 6 times the size of the Arastra. That thing's going to, with almost the same number of crew in some cases. You know, they both share 8 crew members. 8 or 6 or 8. I'll have to go back and look at the stats. But the thing is, you're going to make a lot of money, but you're going to have to protect it. And yeah,
it's a giant loot pinata,
and we don't have all the information. But again, you can look at other MMOs, and there's a clear sign of how this stuff works. It just, you got to use logic and you got to use a head. It kind of comes through. Well, we got off topic there. Herolex says...
Do you want to go to the next one?
Yeah, I'll read it. Question. Herolex says, has there been any discussion with CRG about their plans for scanning? Types of scanning, how scanners will differ from ship to ship, player versus player, NPC, and operational scanner. I would actually point to Space Tomato. He did a really great video on this a couple of years back, talking about the probes, and he had all these cool little graphics that kind of showed how probes going to work and triangulation and stuff. And you can do bigger distance scans, but the further they travel, the longer they take to come back. So essentially, when you get it, you can already see how it's going to work from like trying to find something. You can do a really big ping across the entire system and go, they're over in that quadrant. Go over to that quadrant, do a medium-sized ping type of thing, and you're just going to get the closer you get to them, the smaller the pings you are going to do. So you can, you're breaking it down to capture them. But yeah, again, if they keep moving, so if you do your first scan and it takes 20 minutes, and you go, all right, they're over in that quadrant, you do your medium one and they've completely moved. Oh shit! Now I'm going to do a big one again. So keep. Staying on the move is going to be your best form of defense, essentially. Lemming, do you want to speak to that at all?
So what you just described was exactly the way that scanning worked at Eve. And this isn't Eve, but I don't know what other way it could work.
Well,
So
did you triangulate things in Eve or not?
yes.
Yeah.
So you could launch like up to 8 probes, depending upon your skills, and put them in like a hexagon pattern and pretty much trap whatever you were looking for in that until you got them close enough to be able to pinpoint the signal. And then you were able to warp to that point, and the whole thing would be out the window if the target moved.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, they could change it and have less probes, more probes.
Yep.
Again, I think you would, to the same I said earlier, they would test it and figure out what works. Like every time. That's how game development works. Like they have an idea, they have a theory, and I guarantee you, it never 100% works, goes the straight exactly how they want it to do. They have to change little things at the very least. So yeah, they'll go out and test it, and yeah, I reckon. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that probes or
they talked
something
about
like that.
They talked about
Yeah.
probes, so that's definitely where it's going.
All right. So next, Michael Winter.
Yep.
Should cargo or mining ships be able to solo fight off attackers, or is the only solution to hire escorts to protect? If escorts eat, why even have the weapons on cargo and mining ships?
That's like saying, should a mouse be able to defeat an elephant? Right? You got 2 different classes of ships. One that's designed to kill, and one that's designed to do cargo. Yeah, theoretically, if you have 6 people on a hull C as an example, and 1 person in a fighter, yeah, the whole C should be able to take. Eventually, they'll take some damage, obviously, because it's a much bigger ship and it's got more people on it. But 6v6, no way. No way. Again, you're. It depends on the scenario, Lemming. Like, I don't know how else to answer that other than like.
So I think guns on, like, for example, the cat is a deterrent more than anything. So one of those, I don't know, cat dog things that are on Microtech now starts attacking your ship, and you're in a cat. Okay, you shoot it a couple times, and it either runs away or you kill it. Yeah. As opposed to if you're on a raft that has no guns at all. Or I don't think the raft has guns.
I think it's got very small guns, but it does have them.
Yeah. Okay, no, it's SRB that doesn't have guns.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so the SRB doesn't have guns. It doesn't have that option of being able to just scare things away. If somebody attacks a cat in a gladius, based on personal experience, I've been blown up in a Talon by NPC caterpillars because they have a lot of firepower.
Yeah, it comes down to size and the scenario. Yeah, it's a tough one to ask, but yeah, again, like if like a prospect, like the same size ship, so like a prospector versus a cutlass, I'd expect the cutlass to win because the cutlass is more combat orientated. Obviously, pilot skill is a part of it too. I'll just say real quick, if you want to ask me or Lemming I'm getting indigestion real bad. If you want to ask me or lend me a question, jump in voice chat and Lens will check out your microphone and we'll drag up and you can answer personally if you like to today. So yeah, if you've got any questions, jump in. I know a lot of you guys listen to us while you're at work, and that's why you probably don't see you in Discord too much. But anyway, or on voice anyway.
I think I've got a question, X.
I'll go for it, Waffle.
This one's on the more silly end, but when we get closer to release, talking about prospectors, right? In my org, we talked about possibly in a last-ditch scenario using a prospector as a manned torpedo.
Yeah, kamikaze will be a thing.
Yeah. How do you reckon they're actually going to put countermeasures in place to stop capital ships from just being suicided by little ships?
Yeah, it's called armor. You know, and if they physicalize everything like they have with all the components and that, armor will have to be shot off. Like they've literally said, an Aurora cannot penetrate the armor of a capital ship. They never said it couldn't kill a capital ship. They said it can't penetrate the armor. But then you bring in something like the Ares Inferno, it strips off all the armor, and then the Auroras can go to town. So it's the same thing. If you haven't stripped off the armor from a capital ship, or you do, then you can ram it. Because it'll go through and damage the components on the other side, you know? So yeah, again, it's... capital ship's going to have layers, you know? It's bigger and, you know, they can repair the damage you do and stuff like that. So it is going to be a coordinated team effort, even in smaller ships, to bring down bigger ones. Again, this whole game is moving to teamwork and player choice, but yeah. Lemmy, do you want to speak to that at all, mate?
I don't see kamikaze being a thing long term in the game. Okay, you can ram your Aurora into, or your Prospector or whatever, into an engine of an Idris.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, you take out the engine. Okay, well there's 6 others.
That's
or 7.
Yeah,
others.
that's
yeah.
The only one I can think of is, do you remember in Star Wars where they hit the cockpit, like the A-wing goes into and the whole Super Star Destroyer comes down?
I'm gonna have to say no because I've seen Star Wars like twice.
GTFO right now. No, oh, that's blasphemy. That is. No, that's fine. Yeah, essentially, so it's like the biggest ship that the Empire have, and the shields go down, and one of their friendlies shoot an A-wing, and the A-wing just happens to go into the not the cockpit, the bridge of the Super Star Destroyer, and just like goes straight through the window and explodes in there and just kills everyone on the bridge. So they don't have a battle bridge in this thing. So it just loses control and flies straight into the Death Star and explodes. So it's like a series of events that leads to the destruction of their biggest vessel, essentially. So,
and I think that works well in a movie.
Yeah. It may happen in the game, but the luck of having that series of events, we know it's going to be a thing. They've talked about, like, if you get an explosion to go off, it may cause another, like a cascade failure, essentially, right? So they have, like, if you get lucky enough, you can pull that off. But it won't happen every single time, right? Because there'll be random factors to which direction it exploded, what bullet you shot, all that type of thing. But there will be instances where you fire an Aurora shot and it just happened to hit this thing that caused this, and someone left a cup here that caused this. Like, that will happen, right? But it'll be random. And chances are it won't destroy the whole ship, like you said. It'll just take out one engine or maybe 1 or 2.
I could see with the resource network tech that's coming in, someone flying an Aurora into the engine of an Idris, taking out the engine, and knocking out a quarter of the fuses.
Think of all the effects in play on just the components. What are the quality of the components? What level of degradation they're at? You can start to see very quickly, like, just changing a few of those factors, you can see how quickly a ship could explode or not explode, right? And that's what I'm trying to get at, is like, if it is in really poor condition, the whole ship will just go up like a stack of paper in a, what do you call that? Like a fireworks factory. You chuck a match in and the whole place goes up. Or You know, kind of like how they designed the Titanic that didn't work with those shields. Like, it could just take out one whole section. Like, you could lose engineering. Now, can you function without engineering? Yeah, you can probably use the MFDs on the bridge and get around a lot of stuff, but it's going to slow you down. So you might kamikaze into that ship and not kill it, but you could have an effect that degrades them. And then that multiplies and gets out of hand, and it all leads to it coming to shit, right? That's what I'm trying to get at, right?
I mean, I could see, again, just to go back to the example, an Aurora flying into the engine of an Idris, frying a quarter of the fuses in it. They all have to be replaced, which affects the firing systems, and then a squad of Infernos show up and start taking chunks out of the Idris. I see stuff like that happen.
Or momentarily the shield goes down in one area, and say another Aurora hits another engine, and all of a sudden they've lost another engine, and they don't have the fuses to fix that one. You can start to see very quickly it's a sum of its parts. It depends on how many enemies you have, the condition of your ship. There's so many factors there that that's why they're doing it, because you're not going to be able to plan for everything. What guns do you have on your ship? Like ballistics or lasers? Like, you start to add all these pieces together. How upgraded is your ship? Is it military components? Is it stealth components? Are you in a Drake? Are you in an Origin? You start to put all this, the sum of its parts together, and it just becomes too complicated. It's too big. It's too vast. That's why it's multi-crew. Because you have a specialist, there's an engineer that knows that ship and just that ship exceptionally well. And then you've got Dorothy that started the game yesterday, and Dorothy don't know shit about engineering, but she wants to be one, and she'll want to learn, you know.
I mean, I know about 4 years ago there was an episode that the Inforunners did saying that you need to know your ship.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's something that people should go back and watch if you haven't watched it, that particular video.
It definitely adds a depth to this game. Like the really interesting thing about this game is they talked about it being skill based really early on, and it's not just, it's skill and knowledge based essentially, right? Because yes, you can get into the game day one and play with people that have been playing for 10 years, but rep grind will be a thing, and knowledge will be a massive thing. We already know this already. If you bring, I'm gonna have to get a tablet in a second. If you bring someone in to do mining, they are not as good as someone who's been doing a mining for 12 months, you know. Salvage is the same. We all have to go through that skill curve. And because of that, if you go down the mining vein eventually, you're not just tomorrow going to go, let's go do science and medical. And you'll be able to do it. Everyone will be able to know a general level, but you're not going to be doing like surgery and a guy that if you stuff it up, he loses his entire character. You know what I mean? You're going to want a 5-star person for a 5-star job, essentially.
Yeah, I mean,
give me a second.
Like, if I'm going to go out and go Quantanium mining, for example, and I have the option of bringing random newbie number 6 or John, I'm going to bring John because John knows how to manage the heat, knows how to do mining. And sure, random newbie number 6 could do it, but they could also blow up your ship.
Yep.
Completely innocently, but I mean, if you overheat Quantanium, it explodes.
Yeah. Yep.
That's the fun bit.
All right. Next question. What was it? Here is it the HeroLex one?
Yeah, it's that one that I don't have.
All right. Should players expect that CIG will one day release a concept gas mining ship, i.e., solo, medium, large variant? Yeah, we've already got the large. That's the Staff era. We've been theorizing a smaller, medium, and a capital for quite a few years. Much like with the refining vessels, we theoretically you could get one in every size category. It just depends if that is what they want. So yeah. Fleming, do you want to say anything to that, or? I
wish the Expanse would have been a small gas miner. It's such
makes
a good
sense.
game.
It actually makes sense. Yeah, it actually makes sense for it. Well, it's about the saddlebags, wasn't it? That's really why
Yeah.
it's called the Expanse. But again, if there'd been balloons that collected gas, it sounds cooler for gas. Hey, nothing to say in the future they can't make it so that it also takes gas bags and it just.
Yeah. I mean, it could also, like, the whole way that the Starfarer collects gas is a big question mark right now because it was supposed to be a vent on the front. Who's to say that the Expanse won't get a vent on the back or the front or whatever? So
Well,
I mean,
who's to say who's to say the saddlebags aren't airtight?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Or you change out the saddlebags for tanks like what the Starfarer has, or smaller versions of what the Starfarer has. I mean, the possibilities are practically endless. I just want more out of the Expanse.
Yeah, and again, like we've talked at length at the Inforunners about what refining gameplay would be and how does it change it. The one I kept thinking of is like when I talk to people that did refining, is it's a lot about mixing different, almost a bit like metallurgy, but you've also got to remove impurities and stuff like that. I even looked at other games like Satisfactory. They have a way where you can connect things together and it's got to go through a process. So it's not just take copper and do one thing and it's copper bars. There's a process, like there's a series of steps in every single one.
Yep.
And that would be a part of it as well. But you could also set up bigger ships to be automated, so they go from one place to another. But you only have a certain number of refineries that you can work at. They talked about cleaning them out. So if you put copper through it the next day, you want to put gold through it so it doesn't get impurities and stuff. You've got to clean it out as well. So you got to take the time to clean things out. So that clearly is going to be a part of it as well. So it's just again, we'll have to kind of wait and see what their design doc is for that. But all we've got to go on is the realism of the real world. Kind of like what when we talked about the geologist stuff and them spawning rocks realistically where they would spawn in real life and things like that. Again, that's why I did that whole professional point of view series, because it just opened my eyes to the way they could do so many things. And I have no doubt in time I will do more of those, but it's not like I can go out and find a brain surgeon or a medical professional that's that broad. I'd have to find like a GP. I'd have to find like a combat medic. I'd have to find, you know what I mean? Like I'd need, like medic's a pretty big field. Same with science. How do I find a physicist that talks about particle physics? Like these people are hard to find. So I can't just go out and then I have to go, oh yeah, by the way, it's about a video game. So you sometimes find these people and they're just like, I have no interest in that. So they don't want to. I have found some certain people, but yeah, they just weren't interested in helping us out. So yeah. Anyway. Next one, if you want to.
It's a very long question, but Pinkaboo Panda asks, do you like the way mining is implemented in SC? I personally would have liked to have seen something different and more mechanical. I feel like lasers are overdone in space mining games. It would have been cool if ships had like huge drill heads on them that had to actually make contact with the rocks.
So they've actually also talked, I think they're expanding mining because they, literally it was only a couple of months apart. They said underground mining is still a thing. And then they said the prospector doesn't underground mine anymore. Right? So I think they're going to have essentially surface miners like we've got now. And I think we'll also have the underground mining as well. But I think they've split it up so they're going to have two different types of ships. Now I could be completely wrong in that. But that was the last we heard. Sorry, let me go ahead.
So when two objects in a game meet, bad things happen. When they can interact with each other, which is what happened with the claw. The claw is problematic. I think that underground mining won't be a space. I'm sorry, that underground mining won't be a ship.
You think of what, a vehicle or something? Or
I think it will be a thing that you put down on the ground, and it does it.
Okay. So the claw initially was just a form of docking. Believe it or not, underground mining would be like a form of docking, where you are landing in a very specific place that you have uncovered and searched for. So you got to find it. That'll be the first part of it. You then find it. You then land and essentially dock with it, and then there's nothing physically, like, so from the game's perspective, there is nothing physically under the ground, but it would use your holo projector like you have on the scans for showing where ships are and all that, and they'd probably have a bigger one on the prospector or whatever the ship is called and those ships, and you can see the node under the ground, and you would then drill, and you could have, the other thing is you could have multiple docking points. You don't have to just have one, you could have multiples. So you could see it under the ground, you could be scanning for it and go, how do I want to attack this? How do I want to break down that node, essentially, or the vein under the ground to maximize my value? And so, unlike in a laser where you're cracking the rock, you essentially are drilling down at certain points to get as much out of it as possible. But you also might have things like cave-ins and things like that that make it a lot harder to extract. Are there air pockets that you've got to work around? Are there other ores that you have to work around? Can I stuff up my drilling? You think of Armageddon, the movie. Can I stuff up my drilling head because I've got to get, 600 feet. Well, I'm not saying 600 feet, but, I've got to get a certain distance down, and it cost me 4 drilling heads to get this tiny little bit of gold, right? Is it even worth the effort now I've got here, right? So you can start to see there is a gameplay there, and it's complicated enough that it's different from the laser. I can see why they basically went, we can make this a whole nother ship, right? By the same token, I don't think you will potentially see a capital ship that does this. You could, but it'd be, look at the Orion, like taking something that big and trying to land it. I think it's like, to me, it shows like it's probably going to go, you might see a small and a medium, potentially a large, but again, it's me speculating here.
I could see a capital ship that deploys something that's like Fury sized to go run a hose down to a planet and dock it into one of those docking stations that you were talking about.
Think of the sheer cost of trying to land a ship that size just to drill a bloody hole. Like, it would have to be. Again, you could do, like we've got different size rocks, you could essentially have different size nodes. But let's be honest, how many of those capital size nodes would you have to have on a planet to make a ship like that viable? And again, if the prospector, or I keep saying prospector, but whatever that ship is that comes along, why can't he just mine the big node as well? What makes it different? Is it depth? Is it size? It's possible. Yeah,
I mean, it could also be scale, because it could be a ginormous deposit of I don't know, lead, something that's worthless. I don't think lead's worthless, but some kind of very bad material.
I just want to let the audience know, if you can't tell, we're brainstorming right now as we do this. The other thing is like laser power of the laser heads. So it's the same thing with drill heads.
Yep.
You'd essentially have different powered drills. So we can go, so it might take you 3 drill heads of the smaller ship to get through that ore, but a bigger one can just go straight through it with the one because it's physically stronger. Different motors, different components. You see where I'm going? So you build that to go through that particular rock. And the bigger ship might have the ability to switch between different drill heads, where the smaller one can only, just like the prospector, it can only take out the one head.
Yep, I could see that.
It's possible. I won't. No, I can see it now. But man, that's going to be an expensive ship to land. It would have to have VTOLs like crazy all over it, much like our Odyssey friend here.
Yep.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see where it goes. I'm interested to see where that kind of goes.
But to answer the question, I like the way that mining is. I think that it was the only way that we would have mining right now.
Right.
Could mining be deeper? Absolutely. Will mining be deeper? Possibly.
Yeah. Well, I think the fact that they said that underground mining is still a thing, and then they said the prospector is not doing it anymore, That hints at a new series of mining. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, I mean, I would love the ground vehicle that is in Armageddon. I think that would be an amazing ground vehicle with
Yep.
drill extensions and all that stuff.
Essentially a medium or large size driller instead of the Rock DS. So it's a multi-crew. Yep. Yeah, I can 100% see that. And going underground and into bunkers and actually having mines and caves and bigger caves. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I really hope they go back and remove things like the Rock DS, but I don't know who decided to sell that, but it was the worst decision they ever did. Right. Leon Cantwell says, how bleak to you think the future or near future, 1 to 2 years out, looks the solo captain flying ships with the AI crew or blades? No, I think you can do it. I really do. I just think, look at the level that AI would have to get to even kind of compare to some human crew. You are going to be guiding them a lot. Your gameplay will be essentially sitting on that engineering screen saying, go repair this, go do this, go do this, go do that type of thing. You're going to be, you're not going to be so much playing the game, but micromanaging AI. And that's just going to be a part of it if you want to do it solo. And again, the higher you go up, the more micromanagement you're going to have to do. Can you do, like, what's it going to be like in a mole compared to an Orion? Right? The mole, you'll still be able to do your lasers and you'll be kind of okay and, you know, not so bad. But as soon as the more crew you get, the more you're going to have to micromanage. Lemming, do you want to speak to that at all?
I don't know. I'm more cautious with people counting on AI and blades and stuff like that. I need to see more. I need to know more.
Right. So if you know someone called Seymour, Lemming would like to meet them. Okay. So if you no, sorry. Right. Like Charm says, do you notice that buybacks are now limited? Can't buy back the Pioneer now. Are you serious? Is that a thing? Can we check that? We get a confirmation screenshot on that. Like Charms is saying that he can't buy back his Pioneer now because it's limited. You would be able to buy it back with cash, but you shouldn't be able to buy unless you've got a token. You'd have to use your buyback token. We'll have to get some people to look into that because that is news to me. I'm assuming that you are not using your token. That would be my first assumption. Lemming, do you have anything else to add to that? Because I know that's in your wheelhouse too.
I'm going to go and see if there's anything that I can't buy back. Give me just a moment.
Roger, you take your time. I'll move on to the next question then. So Swift Werewolf says the Raelian. Do you think there is a chance that it will drop during Alien Week this year, or we will see it next year? I think it will potentially drop this year sometime because we know that they were going to work on it and they were moving it into. They're going to start working on it after the Santok-Yai. The Santok-Yai released in December. So they would have potentially started working on it in December, right? How far along that is, or did they change their mind and move those ship people onto another ship? We do not know. But the original plan was to work on the Raelian, was it not, after the Santok-Yai, Lemming?
It was, and I think, and I'm sure somebody or somebody can ask Jake.
Mm-hmm.
Is the Montreal team on the monthly report? Because I don't think they are.
I don't know. 10
so if they aren't, I suspect the Raelian went to Montreal. And there could be a whole lot coming that we have no visibility about.
I think they'll be talking about all the ship teams. I don't think they'll cut any out. That seems a bit of an oversight to do some and not others, but yeah.
But we don't know how much, because based on what we've been told, the roadmap is built out of, I'm pretty sure it's Jira. And we don't know if Montreal uses the same Jira that CIG does.
being brought into the company though, I just can't see leaving them out. That'd be such an inclusive thing to bring. Like even before they became a part of the company, they'd have to have. How do you contact them? How do you talk with them? How do you work across the globe when they were talking about, switching between people and the passovers and stuff like that? So, yeah, it's a tough one. That's a real tough one. Yeah, I think that'd have to be on the monthly report. But again, you're right. It wouldn't hurt to ask. Worst they can say is no, isn't there? Did you find out anything about buybacks? Are they limited or?
I'm looking right now.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'll do another one then. Hiralex says, obviously repair ships are going to repair other ships. What will repair ships be equipped to handle emergencies like ship on fire and part of the repair process? All I can think of is we know the Crucible can repair its own engines, which is pretty interesting. But I think every ship will probably come with like fires and stuff. They'll smoke detectors and not smoke detectors, fire extinguishers. That's what I was trying to think of. But again, I put this to you, Lemming. You'd expect that there would be more equipment. Like a Drake ship probably doesn't have as many safety features as other ships. As in, like, it might not come with fire extinguishers. You have to buy your own. And then on top of that, you have to keep it in the cargo.
If it's Drake, they could be half full.
You buy them. I mean, yeah, the fire extinguishers only come half full. Yeah, you only put out half the fires on Drake. You got to fill them up yourself. Yeah, it could, but
or maybe they're expired.
I don't know. Yeah, but again, there's probably going to be. I wouldn't be surprised if eventually we don't see different brands of fire extinguisher as well, and different types. Like in real life, there are fire extinguishers for liquid. So again, do you need a different fire extinguisher for in atmosphere to out of atmosphere, or is it gameplayified to the point that they just have one fire extinguisher, right? So again, there's a big unknown there because they haven't talked about it enough. We're really, again, we're just scratching the surface in Star Citizen. There's just so much gameplay to go. Let me know when if you found out about that thing.
So I can't find anything in my hangar that I can't buy back, but I don't have a Pioneer, so.
Yeah. All right, so Pioneer is limited. The only person I know that's got a Pioneer is Algrid, so I will follow it up with him.
So I know that there was a problem several years ago that if you bought a Pioneer, you got a token on your account that you had to submit a ticket for to have the token cleared if you melted it. That's possibly what this person is talking about.
Yeah. So, who was it that said they can do their Pioneer?
It's Lucky Charms.
Lucky Charms? Like Charms. Contact Concierge or put in a sport ticket and get it confirmed. I think, yeah, that would be disastrous news across the board if that was on everything. But in your case, I think you just need to put in a ticket. Good luck with that, by the way. We're getting down to the last 7 questions. What are we at for time? We're about 2 hours through, so we can either end an hour early or you can chuck some more questions my way. You can also get in the waiting room. Lentz is still sitting in there very diligently waiting. Anyone that wants to jump in voice and talk to me and Lemming, you are more than welcome to do so. Taking your questions in voice today because Algrid's not here and it's just my ugly mug on screen. I could do this though. This will freak everyone out. But no, I won't. I won't put you through that. And we'll just do it like this. Right. Next question. Do you want to read it, Lemming?
Sure. Dominus Noctis asks, will the cops and ambulances have wee-woos? And I say yes, they will, because they do.
No one can hear you scream in space, so how can they hear you wee-woo? I would expect a wee-woo in atmosphere, but not in space, technically speaking.
Yeah.
Is it like so in atmosphere it's wee-woo, wee-woo, and then in space it's like really? Like it's all, yeah.
Like, I absolutely love the lights.
Yeah, me too.
On the blue and the red and all of that. So, gosh, I hope we get more of those.
Yeah, it'd be really cool if, so the Ursa, the many, but like you got lights, but like it's a pop-up one that spins, like the old school 70s ones. I'd love one of those that just pop and then But yeah, we'll see what happens with that. And I mean, like again, think about what they did with the C8R. They had a couple of cool skins on that, didn't they? Where they had like a very British one, they had a Swedish one, and I'm talking about like ones that were inspired by ambulances worldwide. I believe it was a red one with like a green fluoro green stripe, which was kind of inspired by the British one, but the British one's usually white with a green stripe, and the Swedish one was like blue with a white stripe. So I'd hope we see similar things like that for the Ursa. I think you'd agree with me on that, Lemming, or
Yep.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that happening because, like it or not, paints are the future.
Do you think it is just purely going to be like the Pisces but in a vehicle, or do you think they might add something different, like maybe it has a drone, or do you think that's too much for a little Ursa?
I think that's too much for an Ursa. If the Spartan, I can't think, is it Spartan? No, the Atlas chassis. If the Atlas chassis gets a medical variant, I can see it having a drone on top of it.
Yep.
But I don't think on the Ursa one.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm actually surprised they didn't use the links for the medical variant, to be honest with you, but it makes more sense because that keeps it like that kind of the more elitist exclusive one. I just am kind of really interested how they're going to lay it out, because you naturally look at the Ursa and go, right, bed one down the same size as the wall, so the right side, because, and then the other side you can sit there, and then there would be where that the storage area is, or the weapons locker, would then become the medical terminal. And then you'd give up all your cargo because you'd have essentially an ambulance person sitting in the back, but that ambulance person could also then go sit in the front. That do you still have room for cargo in a medevac Ursa? You see where I'm going with this? Because because you got the co-pilot seat, do you still need the one in the back?
Well, and they said in the past that medical is going to require resources. So
storage.
Where are those resources on both the Pisces and the Ursa?
I'll throw this back at you then. Is it 2 beds? Do you get so think about all the seats that you can put? Is it 4 to 6 people in the back? You remove those seats and it's 2 beds.
Okay, it could be 2 beds if they go the way of the Hawk, and they're just little pods, and you just kind of load the people into the pods. There's no. Yeah,
I'm just thinking the Pisces, but just 1 bed on each side.
Okay.
And you just have 1 medical terminal that drives both.
I can see that.
But then does that kill the Pisces? And I say no, because the Pisces can fly.
It flies.
Yeah. That would definitely give it a unique feature, wouldn't it? Essentially, it's like a Cutlass on the ground.
Yeah, but it's still only... It's still an Ursa size.
Well, here's the other thing: is it's designed to drive in the Galaxy. That has a shit ton of beds, so I can see it needing to deliver at least 2 people at a time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think you guys are starting to get a bit of insight of how we brainstorm here today. We've done it a few times, but yeah. I don't know. It's interesting to see where that pops out. It's definitely going to be one of the more interesting vehicles that we've had, because there's just a bit more unknowns in it. Put it this way: if I had to pick between it and the Pulse, I'm more interested in the Medvac. I assume you would be too, yeah. If you had to pick between the two, is what I'm saying. You're probably not interested in either, right? But if you had to pick between the two, it's the Medivac, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
We need another hoverbike about as much as we need another capital concept.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. We will get more capital concepts though in the future when they're needed. They're just not needed right now because server meshing was like, you're never going to see a Kraken or until the server meshing is up and working essentially. So yeah. Right, we're down to the last 4 questions. Craigon says, when do you think they'll debut the Mark II version of the Hornet variant? I would assume that will drop with when you can purchase the upgrade, which is meant to come with 323, Lemming, if I'm not mistaken.
I have a spicy take on this.
Oh, please.
I don't think that there is going to be Mark II variants, other than maybe the Super Hornet.
Hold that thought for just a second. I missed a raid by Astro Otter. Thank you for the raid, Astro. I'm sorry I missed it. And I apologize. I did not see it until just now. So yeah. Why do you think they're not going to? So you're talking about the Tracker and the Ghost and the Super Hornet, essentially, yeah? I actually think
the Super Hornet
I think they're
is
all
a different frame.
yes, agreed. But I think they're all in that top 10. You know, they said 10 vehicles. I think, and it said 10 new vehicles and variants. I think the variants are the Ghost and the Tracker, because essentially they're just a module. You take out, if you take out the cargo piece, right, and you put in the Tracker piece, done. If you put in the Ghost engine on the back and it's the same thing in a different skin. It's just a skin, and again, most of the ships are designed modular for the developers, not for us, right? It's not that much more
working.
It's not that much more work. I was going to say it's just not that much more work.
Yeah, I think that they will sell a Ghost modular, a Ghost modular.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that word.
A modular Ghost variant.
Right. So, like, you can put the Ghost pod in the Mark II, and it becomes a Mark II Ghost.
So, Citizen Scott is correct. He says Ghost is a unique hull, much like the Super Hornet. To us, it is. To them, it is not. To them, it is just you just swap the engine, take the engine off, and put a different engine on, right? Again, a lot of the ships, like if you look at the Vanguards and stuff, the Vanguard series, to us it's a pod swap, but they still do have different components and stuff like that. Again, they design it easy for them, not necessarily for us. You know.
And who's to say when it comes to the Mark II variants that that's still the case? Let's say the pod changes the fuel system in the Hornet so that the engines now run like Ghost engines do. I really think.
So what you're saying, though, to essentially be killing the Ghost if they did that. I think the main thing of the Ghost was it had a different engine so it could run silent. It had special. Oh man, I'd have to go back and look it up. I know it had like more stealthy components as well, right? So essentially, it's partially loadout, like a loadout variant, but it's also partially like one or two pieces. And I remember it had some kind of special venting with the engine that hid the heat signature and stuff like that. But I believe it still has the cargo box on it. I'd have to go back and look. It's been such a long time since I even looked at that ship, to be honest with you. I'm pretty sure Scott probably knows more about it than I, because it sounds like he's up to date on it. But the tracking variant is essentially just a utility mount that has the radar part on it, and that just goes right on top. And there was a thing that down the bottom, and I'm trying to remember what that was as well. Do you remember the part down at the bottom? I have to look it up. It's been. I'm going to be honest with you.
One of the reasons why I think that this is the case is back at IAE, they changed the phrasing of what subscriber coupons were good for. And one of the things that they added was purchasing modular. God, I can't say that word. And that's what I think they're ramping up.
I have to just point something out. So I just searched for this, right? I just searched for Tracker Hornet Star Citizen. It now says Tracker Hornet Mark 1. It never said that before.
Yep, they changed all of those.
But if it says Mark 1, why that means there's a Mark 2 coming, does it not?
Maybe.
Why?
Yeah, they changed all of the CTUs. That's why I know that they changed that.
Yeah. That's how old this is, man. It's got like the original. These are the originals from like way, way back. They've never been updated, right? But there's meant to be a little thing that hangs below, and I can't even remember. Yeah, see this thing? And I think it's a part of the sensor. It's a part of the scanning part. So I think it is just essentially you swap out the cargo bay for essentially a sensor. And my hope was eventually that you could just buy the sensor part in game and take your Hornet, your Super Hornet, and just chuck that in. You know how you can take the ball turret out? Same thing. You could just swap this into that. Because again, do you remember Algrid talks about the different variants of the Aurora and their customization? This is from that era.
Exactly.
So again, if you buy an F7A, I see what you're getting at now. Now I'm on the same page as you, right? Yes, I think you could do the tracker, but the Ghost is like what Scott said. Technically, what Scott said was true. It was meant to be a different hull. But what you're saying is you reckon that they updated the Mark II to make it so the engine is... Yeah, you could be right. I'm now I've thought through in my fat skull. I'm on the same page as you. Is that what you were saying? Have I kind of just...
I mean,
yeah, okay.
I could be 100% wrong.
Yeah.
And if I am, then that's fine.
Yeah. So what Lemming is essentially saying is the M7A can just be modularly turned into the other two. So
Exactly.
what I would say then is, wouldn't they then just sell the others as essentially variant loadouts, like we've been saying? It's money, is it not? You know, so.
but like, if they go backwards like that, so CIG isn't going to remove a ship.
So first time chatter on Twitch, X Ralis or Araras, I don't know how to say that. Not just components, his hull or shell has a 40% EMR, IR, CI signature, something like the F-20A Raptor, essentially suppression, so it's harder to find. Kind of like some of the Aegis ships with the stealth paint. Those Essence CIG is only numbers hull, same as the Hornets visually. Yeah, so again, for them, it's a reskin. For us, they change some of the numbers. So, can you repaint your hull? Can you change your hull? That's really what it comes down to. Did they combine that hull into the default F7A? Is what you're essentially asking, aren't you, Lemming?
Yeah, I mean, and to answer your question that you just asked, I mean, can you put a spoiler on your car?
Or
absolutely.
Or does it go as far as that we have three hulls? We have the Hornet, the Tracker, the Hornet, the Ghost, and the Super Hornet. Yet you can cross pollinate, so you have the cargo module that you can put in all three, the Tracker you can put in all three, and the ball turret you can put in all three.
Yep.
That sounds, and to them, that's like win. But it's all little work for them. So I think that's a cool way to do it. You can take your Ghost and turn it into a stealth tracker, or you can turn it into a stealth combat, or you can turn it into a stealth cargo. So because that allows it to be a cargo ship, a sneak up combat vessel, and a sneaky scout vessel. That is the that's the Raptor, not the Raptor, the Razor. Is it the LX? Or, you know, the black one.
Yeah.
I would take that in a heartbeat. I would take that in a heartbeat over that. Because it's, you know, like it's got a bit of guns. It's got, again, the ability to customize and change it all through. Plus, it gives you a reason to earn all three in game. Because you're gonna want them. You're gonna want the solo variant. You're gonna want the 2-person variant, and you're gonna want the stealth variant. But you're not gonna want the stealth variant when you don't want to be stealthy. You know what I mean? So and it's all light work for them. It makes sense to me. Might not make sense to you guys, but if it doesn't, let us know. I think he's onto something there. I think he's right. And again, it's from that era of the Aurora.
Again, if I'm wrong, then I'll 100% own it.
Yeah. Oh, Lemming, you know how we do this by now. It's just all speculation, mate. You just throw it out and see what shit sticks, don't you? You know, so... Right, do you want to do the next question while I'm pouring this drink?
Yes.
I'm getting very parched.
Kragan asked, do you think some loops wouldn't have missions for the top ends of their ships and rather have to be used for events or emergent gameplay, i.e. Endeavor Hospital ship level of medical missions?
They've literally said there'll be missions for every ship. Every form of gameplay for every ship. They've literally said that. So, short answer is no. I don't know. How would you feel if you brought a shit Lemming and it didn't have gameplay?
It's going to be heavily reputation gated. So that's one of the things that scares me about the Endeavor is, good gosh, that's going to be a lot of reputation.
Does it have more more of a rep grind, or is it just has more unlocks than other ships? doesn't have separate rep grinds for each profession. So do you have to go down the medical one, and then down the super collider one, and then down the research one? And I think it's multiple trees personally. Again,
I
but
think it would be.
isn't that just more gameplay, like me and Agron have been saying? Do you know what I mean? Because you got more things to unlock.
Sorry, I just read Citizen Scott's question.
We'll read that in a second. Hang on. All right, can we get talking head from Lemming, maybe with an image of the sound? Yeah, if you want to make the graphics, Citizen Scott, go nuts. Yeah, it's Lemming's choice if he wants to use camera or not. It's totally up to him. I do want to get him a better microphone though, because we've been saying to him for a while we want to get it when he talks, get him a better one, because he's just using one of these ones. But I want to get him kind of like one of these ones. So yeah, we'll eventually get that sorted and tucked away. Right. You want to go to the next question? We are down to. Hang on, we're down to the last 4. You're skidding right up to his question. We did that one already. Oh no. No. All right, we're down to the last 3 questions. Sorry, I was wrong. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I think we did that for the last one.
We did. That's what I just realized. So we're up to Citizen Scott. You were right. I was wrong. That's what I was saying. So I'll read it then. Citizen Scott, will 323 break the PU when it goes live? No. I think they learned from 318 last year that they can't just release shit and expect us to test it. And that's why they put the ETU in place. You know, so there's kind of like there's not really been a PU realistically, or it's been very quick since roughly about September last year, because they realized there were too many, I'll put it other than this, filthy casuals that only turned up to try out the new shit and then left, right? So the EPTU is those of us that are here all the time and don't complain, don't bitch, because we know how it works, and that just stall gates them from, like, it gets a bit more polished. So when those filthy casuals come along that now have access to the PU, it's more polished for them, and you don't get streamers that have 2,000 viewers just sitting there bitching for an hour or 2 hours or the entire stream about how bad it is, which is what we saw with 318. And I think that's why they brought it in.
So I think CIG is being more strategic about patches, and I think that's because of 318 and I don't want to say the bad press that it got, but the bad look that it gave.
Well, also we saw the tech preview as well for the same reason, yeah? It gated it. It gated it. I'm going to butcher this person's name, but it looks like Timur Kunasnadinov. That's either Indian or Russian. I can't quite make out what that is. And he simply says, appreciate you guys, what you do. And thank you for the $20. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And I'm sorry I butchered your name. Because I clearly did. I could not pronounce that in ping. Lemmy, do you want to have an attempt at that? Because it's...
which chat is it?
It's in YouTube. It's Kasnadinov. Timur Kastinov. Kasnadinov. I want to say it. I'll practice it later because it looks very Russian. Now I say it. Is it Russian? Can you let me know, Timur? Is that Russian? Please let me know. I'd like to know. Anyway, is there anything you want to say about 323 and breaking it?
No, I think that it will be functional when it comes out.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the patch notes over the past week, they've very much moved into getting rid of critical stuff so that they can start possibly pushing forth release candidates.
It definitely has been getting performance increases in the last couple of days too. Over previous days, like even so I jumped on last night and I was getting like 20 frames more than what I was getting like in the very previous patch, and the one coming today, as I said right at the start of the stream, is got more performance. Like they're fixing the shit basically.
I don't know, but based on other content creators, I believe that CIG sent something out to content creators this week, hyping up the Friday patch. Is that true?
No. The last email I got from them was about a redacted coming with 323, which is essentially the Miro polls.
Gotcha.
Right. So when people say it's coming for Invictus, either the patches are coming in Invictus, or it's coming with 323, and it's completely.
I don't think it's coming with Invictus. I think it's coming with the patch.
Yeah. Well, that's essentially what the email talks about. It doesn't talk about anything else, just the singular thing, and it's again the only thing we have to go on that we've seen in any of the leaks or anything like that is that pulse. So yeah. All right. So we're down to the last two questions, or the last question. Is the last question or the last two questions?
No, there's actually three more.
All right.
Crystal King said, at the very highest level of engineering, what level of complexity do you think is good? Personally, I'd love a very in-depth system based on real-world numbers and chip climate controls.
They did talk about there being different areas of engineering too, didn't they? They said before you even leave, like repairing it and maintaining it, and then yeah, there was like repair, maintenance, and before you even leave. Is that there were three different areas, and I had special title names for all of them. Yeah, it's like anything though, isn't it? Like they can make it as detailed or less detailed as possible, but the thing that really came up for me in the IC yesterday was they literally said, this is just testing time to kill. This is not engineering. Yeah. This is not all of it. This is just it. They didn't even have, they had repairing. They didn't even have subcomponents, right? So once you put subcomponents in, that essentially takes every component and makes it customizable. So look at the level of complexity you've just gone to. You've gone from a system that, let's just take coolers. Right? Coolers, there is like 5 different coolers that you could possibly put in your ship. Minimum, right? And then all of a sudden you add the ability that it's got 3 slots that have got 3 subcomponents on it. You've just taken that combination from like 5 to 50. Now you take that and put it across all the components, and you've gone from like 50 to 400. Or and it goes beyond that too.
Yeah.
It's insane.
But
right?
But to think that is going to be something right now for the game, I think is counterproductive to what they're trying to do. I could see that being a long-term thing. Yeah,
it's all baby steps. So like everything we've been fed has been fed, because people don't like change, man. Look at how people are complaining about master modes. The sky is falling. You've got people, even I was doing it, complaining about the new HUD. You know, like they've changed all the minimap icons, and it's annoying the shit out of me because the other one worked really well. Like I knew what everything was, and now I've got to go, why is that a cross, and why is that a hexagon, and why is that one a triangle? And like it again, we humans don't like change.
But in like a year, we're gonna look back and be like, oh my god,
so glad they changed.
It's so much better.
Exactly. You know, so we are. Let's be honest. Not most of, I was going to say none of us, but most of us here are not spring chickens anymore, right? We are, the older we get, the less resistance to change we are. You know, you get a kid, they are designed to learn at a hyper rate. We don't learn at the same rate as kids because we've got those synapses in our brains have kind of rested. You know, I can't go out now and become a pianist as easily as a kid can. You know, for me to rapidly... What? Oh, you dickhead. Right, yeah, okay. Yeah, nice joke, dickhead. But I meant like playing the piano, you infidel, you. Anyway, yeah, but you get my point, right? We cannot change rapidly as well. That's just a part of how we are as a species. But again, knowing what I know, I can pass on what I know. But yeah. You've totally taken,
yeah, exactly.
You've totally derailed what the fuck I was talking about. Anyway, right. What's the next question? Unless you want to speak to that.
No, I don't think so. I think that, yeah. So the next question is why do I keep reading these questions with this word that I cannot say? What is the deal with jump modulars? Modular.
Gosh. Modules or modular?
Yeah, that. Yes. I know that snubs don't have a QT drive, but all other ships have a jump drive.
No, not all of them have jump drives. So you've essentially got a quantum drive, which is within system. So actually, let's start at the bottom. Snubs can't do diddly shit. They are just essentially locked to their mothership, and they've got to go with their mothership wherever they go. Then you've got quantum drives that are within system. And then if you now look in game, you'll see certain ships that have a gap above the quantum drive. And that is where it's like a module that attaches to the quantum drive that changes it into to be able to be a jump drive. Now, initially, it was going to be you need a quantum drive and a whole jump drive. And now they've made it so it's just like a little modular piece. But there's certain requirements behind that, like power and stuff like that. So there still will be ships that can't go through jump points. But they have lessened them a lot. The other advantage of this is if you know that you are, let's just take Hornet, right? And I don't even know if they have jump drives, right? But just say, for example, let's take a cutter, because I know a cutter's got one, right? So take the cutter, you can buy the jump drive and the quantum drive, and later you can buy the jump drive so it saves you money. So you can attach it as a module later. So you think about as you're progressing up in your ship and you're leveling up, you can get the bare needed components and then upgrade them into what you need them to be. It's a part of the upgrade process. It's pretty quickly, you can see why they've done it that way.
I could see a jump thing being very expensive.
Absolutely.
And probably burning out after just a couple jumps.
Absolutely. Different quality ones, needs different materials. So if it's made out of some rare mentanium or whatever you want to call it, and yeah, they could break, they could different prices. Well, look at the rapid price fluctuations just between quantum drives as it is. We've got a quantum drive. I think the most expensive size one I've seen is like prices are subject to change, but was roughly around about 127,000. But then I've seen ones as cheap as 13,000.
Yep.
I think there'll be no difference between the jump drives. And what I mean by that is, like, you'll get ones that are super cheap, but they probably break shitloads, and then you get ones that last forever and they cost like 10 times as much.
Or you get the one from wish.com that has
yeah, that's what I did today. Instead of getting Hagrid, I got the one from wish.com. Yeah, exactly. Take that. Right. Kyle Lentz says, question for me in the Discord. Wait, question from you in the Discord.
So I think he's going to ask something.
All right, go Lentz.
Do you think we will be able to capture the animals and put them in fighting rings against each other and bet on the outcomes?
Eventually, yes.
Yes.
I really do. I think, well, because again, you start to think of it as an MMO, and you start to think of things like cooking. We know that they've got different levels of restaurants and stuff like that. So where does that come from? What is food? Well, it's plants, it's animals. You run it back to animals. And then as soon as you get animals, you go, what else? Like, you got all the raw, the salvage, the raw minerals, the gas, the collection. What other things do you need to be for producing stuff? You're going to need animals as well, like bones, bone marrow, animal parts. And so it'll be a part of the science will be finding out what this stuff does and combining it to turn it into different things. And cooking is a form of science, right? So we know they talked about big game hunting.
I'm more thinking about, capturing some of the aggressive animals and pitting them against each other in arenas for gambling and betting, maybe in the pirate world.
Absolutely, but there's no reason you essentially can't kind of do. Well, I don't mean that now, like right now, but like why can't you find like a hangar and it's empty, like the ones that they showed with the Gladius flying near the puddle or whatever, and you just drop it out the back of your ship. You just drop out the dog thing and some space crab, and they just go at it, and you take bets on it. That'll be the first version of it. Players will drive that. And then eventually, like racing, look what racing has done.
Yep.
It's the same thing. Whatever we push into, they will probably go, that's a great idea. And they'll just copy it. And I get, well, we've seen it already on the EPTU. People are letting dogs go on the station. Put a dog in the elevator. The guy goes, I'm going to go down to my cutter. Ah! He's just totally mauled by whatever. I haven't seen a turbo pelican in the station yet, but I want to see a turbo pelican in the station. Yeah.
Oh, well, we're just going to have to wait for a version of Live Leaks to come into Star Citizen.
Don't rule that out either, especially when the Mako comes in. But yeah.
Oh, there you go. Career opportunity for that ship.
Oh, I have no doubt we'll have little influencers that come in with their Makos and try and just annoy the shit out of people like people do for content in real life. I rammed this javelin with my Aurora and totally screwed it up, and haha, isn't it great? You know, yeah, there'll be people that go for that type of thing and annoy people, but yeah. Right, AKA 47 says, would you?
We skipped one.
All right, go ahead.
On Clever Ghost, do you think that we're still on track to see the Perseus, a Galaxy, and Polaris before end of year? That is not what they said.
That is correct. That is not what they said. I do think, however, we might get an update to the Galaxy first, isn't it? Yeah, at CitizenCon. And we've heard they've started grey boxing on it already, haven't we?
I could see the Polaris coming out around October, and the Galaxy following it on a.
I think the Galaxy is really on the table for this year, mainly because of the base building stuff. Because if it's the only real ship you can build it around, because the first thing's a trolley, the second one's a vehicle, which we could see that vehicle concept at Invictus, because it's off the Atlas platform. Okay. So I could see building military bases, you know, I can see that, right? So that could be one of the ones that we see at Invictus, right? And then, but to actually tangibly get that working, you really want it in a ship, right? And you're not going to build a whole Pioneer, but you will build a Galaxy because you're building other RSI ships, right? As I said, we know it's in grey box. It's just, can they get that to the end of the year? And with the speed and the extra people that they've brought in, I can see that, because you could be doing the I was gonna say you could be doing.
They definitely can.
Yeah, I was gonna say you could be doing the Polaris and the Galaxy at the same time and sharing assets, and we know that's why they're doing it.
Exactly.
That's the whole reason they're doing it. So we've had this line of this is what ships normally take, but we have to figure out. We can't figure out what the speed up is, but we're gonna have to assume there is a speed up because that's why they're doing it. So. How much of a speed up that is, we'll find out at the end of the year, I think. Yeah.
The external of the Polaris went from white box to gray box in 3 months.
And that's a huge ass
crazy.
Yeah. That is crazy.
3 months.
If you think of other similar ships, look at the Banner Mesh, man. That took like a whole year.
Exactly.
And that was like 3 or 4 people on it, and then that was still kind of in grey box. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
They must have like 10 people on that thing to get the Polaris done in 3 months, you know?
I mean, it's just the outside and the inside, I'm sure. Yeah, we didn't get an update on it passing any gates. So either it didn't pass any gates or it just wasn't on the monthly report.
And essentially we're going from a capital size ship to a, actually I can probably bring that up on a thing so we can directly compare. But we are essentially going from a large ship in the Galaxy to the Polaris, and there is a noticeable size difference. And again, you said 3 months, right? So if it was half the size, does that make it a month and a half? I put that back to you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, maybe.
So I'm just going to bring these up real quick. I'll flick you guys over so you can see what I'm doing. So this Polaris, and then we said Galaxy, and we've got a Galaxy, and we'll have to look at them in a couple of different sizes, but we can do that. We will delete the labels. We will go top down to start with.
So I've spent a lot of time looking at the Galaxy. The Galaxy isn't as big as it looks. Yeah. So it's actually a lot of weight.
I would say it's a third the size. So here, look, right? That's from side on, it seems to be the third. And from the top, I would say it's probably half.
No, it's not, because if you zoom down on the Galaxy...
Oh, no, actually, it probably is about a third. Yeah.
There's a lot of that isn't chip. A lot of that is like weight.
Yeah. Again, if I go back to a 45-degree angle... Yeah, I'd say it's somewhere between half and a third overall.
So the Galaxy and the Perseus are very similarly sized if you take off those weird side things on the Galaxy.
Yeah, we can bring the
that aren't
Perseus.
shipped.
The reason, do you know why they're doing the Perseus after the Galaxy? Put it in line of requirements and what you get out of it. It's another combat ship, and you have to do all this work around the customized guns, and it's only for that ship. That's why.
Sure.
You get way more out of the Galaxy than you get out of the Perseus. There's more new stuff. Like you get modularity, you get base building, you get a bigger refinery, actual refinery in game. Think about that. That's a big one. You get the Apollo plus you got 2 big medical ships in. You see where I'm going with this pretty quickly, yeah?
Yep.
You get a lot more out of this than you get out of this. This will give you some other things though, like a small combat vessel that will actually go toe to toe with this and the Hammerhead. You're seeing the multi-crew combat come in. They need this for the multi-crew combat that's going to come straight after server meshing. So once this comes in, it will just fucking dominate. You actually need things like this to go toe to toe with it. That's why.
Yep.
But yeah, but this just does more than this. But this is needed, just not as much as this. But yeah, I would argue the Perseus is definitely. You reckon they're about the same?
So, go to the top-down view of the Galaxy.
Top down. You want? Give me a sec.
And go ahead and zoom down on it. You know what? I'll show you.
You say zoom in a hand, so I'm gonna fucking slap you. Just saying that right now. So what am I zooming in on? Just the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I can't. Is it space? No. Oh, there we go. It's space. All right. There we go.
Okay. So do you see that hole in a little bit to the left?
To the left. Oh, here. Yeah, that's a. Oh,
Nope.
yeah. I see it.
You see
Yeah.
all of that on the outside there? That's not ship.
So this
That's
is
like wing.
Yeah. So this is really the ship. Just this bit here. Yeah.
Yeah,
I get your
exactly.
point. Yeah. So it is smaller. Yeah, you're right. It is that diamond head too. Yeah, he's got a point. If we actually lined up a schematic of this ship over the top, yeah, it is smaller. He's got a point. So
I love the Galaxy. I'm so hopeful for the Galaxy.
Yeah. No, I like all ships in this game for all different reasons. So yeah. Oh, that's it. Food for thought there, guys. Yeah. What is bigger, the Galaxy or the Perseus? He could be right. If you chop that whole wing thing off, this actually makes that smaller than this. That's crazy. But yeah, he could be right on the money there. It's interesting. I like that. Okay. All right, we're down to the last few questions now. Oh shit! No, we got more now. They brought them in. All right, we've got 20 minutes left. So what are we up to? What's the next one?
AKA 47 asks, would you like a Kraken that specializes in Furies that has special bays for those, thus can carry more of them than the usual landing spots, and call it the Fury as a Kraken?
Well,
I think that's a meme.
Again, we talked about this. What carries the Furies? And I have no doubt at some point there is a Mirai capital ship coming. At some point, what is it? What does it do? I don't know. But again, looking at performance and combat, I would say it's more likely the combat variant. And knowing what the Fury does, and it clearly connects to something. Like it's got all these connectors over the back of it and stuff like that. Now I could be living in a complete copium dream world, but again, every manufacturer will more than likely have a capital ship to go along with it. And it might not be a capital ship. It might just be a Corvette from Mirai. Which is technically a capital ship, but you know what I mean, right? And not a real large one.
So I have a fundamental problem with the combat Furies.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Roberts is designing a game that death matters.
Mm-hmm.
The Fury is a coffin.
Yeah, but remember what I said about how I think it's a turret that deploys?
Yeah,
I think it'll be on a ship and you shoot with it, and then it literally just becomes like a life raft, and you deploy off it to get off the ship.
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that. That those are the escape pods that have guns.
Yeah. That's it. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see in time. I am happy to be completely wrong, but I love speculating anyway. So yeah. All right, next question, Lemmy.
Shinobi Trip asks, question with the overdrive referral that we've got in, do you think we'll still get a referral with 323 release? So I can answer this one.
Yeah, oh, go ahead. I was going to say it's probably more likely at Invictus, is it not?
So they have been fairly consistent in one referral per quarter.
Yeah. And Invictus would be in next quarter, would it not?
I don't think we got a first quarter referral. If we did,
yeah, we did. There was what was it? I swear there was one in like February, and I'm just trying to remember what the hell it was. I can't remember. Maybe I'm remembering wrong. Yeah.
I'm gonna look at my hanger. Give me 1 second.
Radio. What's the next question? We're getting pyro and meshing with 4.0. So after 4.0, would you rather see player caps double in those systems or 2 more systems in game? I think we'll then have they were going to want to move from static to dynamic as soon as possible, but I think they want to go to static because they know how stagnant the gameplay is kind of becoming game. So at least us having pyro, we've got some other things to do, plus it gives us jump points. But I think the real limiting factor of a rollout will be dynamic. But just like server meshing right now, how long is it going to take to go from dynamic to from static, essentially? So again, Lemmy, do you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, so it matters how many times they have to hack static to get it working.
Yep.
If they have to put in a whole bunch of hacks, and to the people that aren't in software development, a hack is like not something that's in your original design document that you just have to do in order to get it to work.
A temporary fix.
Yep.
Yep.
So if they have to hack, hack the heck out of it, then it's probably going to be a long road. If they don't, and it just goes in relatively to the design document, then probably not that long.
Yeah. All right. Oh, that was by Citizen Scott, by the way.
So I looked up, and we did get a Valentine's Day referral.
What was it?
It was a dragonfly with armor.
Yeah, I'm pretty. Yes, because I have that. Yeah. Yeah, that's what it was. I knew there was something. I just couldn't remember what it was. Right. Hiralex says, will there be zoos in the game needed for Safari tools? Yeah, absolutely. If they've got ships for just going on dates, why the hell wouldn't they have a zoo ship? Absolutely. And I also think they will have cargo ships just for transporting animals. I think back to a particular episode. It was like the only episode I've ever watched of Babylon 5, but they had an area on this space station for people that didn't breathe nitrogen. It's the same thing. So like, just like you'll transfer plants, you would have certain animals that have certain requirements and limitations. So yeah. Anything you want to add to that, Lemon?
Yeah, I could see a C2 being a mobile zoo.
Even Old Man Hastings having like what's that guy, the collector in Guardians of the Galaxy, had all those rare, weird things, and he collected people and stuff, something like that, where you collect animals, like, or at the very least, an animal transportation ship. Yeah.
I don't think it needs to be a special ship to do it, but I could see.
I could see it as a part of an outpost, a part of base building. Like an animal cage, and it comes in different sizes, and you just put that,
a containment building.
Yeah. So you basically just build your own zoo, because that's, I think we're going to get a lot of things like that from base building that you don't get in ships. They'll probably be more customizable, so you can lay things out. And I think we'll even see overflow of things from like hangars. The things they gave us to put hangar flare in, putting those in your house. So it's a no-brainer. It's the same thing, is it not? That slot system. Hiralex says, what other bounty ships would you expect to see in the future? I want to see another shop ship. What about you?
I want to see the Banu Merchant Boy.
The Merchant Boy. That's actually kind of clever. I like that. The Merchant Boy. Yeah, like I did a really rough concept that I showed Agrid years ago, and it was like a round ship, and it had your living quarters and that on top. Think of it almost like the part of the Maharaja top part. So it's kind of like this round donut, and then on top you've got like the cockpit, and there's like a spiral staircase that went down to like a little singular private bazaar that's just one shop. And you could make that one shop whatever you wanted. And much like what we've seen with the shops, I think we're also going to get more shop ships in different tiers. So, and I explained this, if you had an origin shop, it would be like fine dining and high fashion. But by the same token, why can't you have a Drake ship that's a takeaway shop? So as soon as you look at it, just having 4 ships doesn't cut it. Because you might want a fine dining experience. So the Bano ship that I'm talking about, let's just take that as an example. You could have a Drake ship that has all these, you know, junker repair shops, dumpers depot, you know, salvage shops, the takeaway shops. And then you go into something like a solo Bano ship, and you can have a fine dining restaurant in there, or a fashion shop, or an antiquity shop. They have different requirements. I don't know. Lemming, your thoughts on that?
I've always thought that a plastic surgery module for the 600i would be perfect.
I could see that too. But I've said for a long time, and it really became evident to me last year when they dropped that Santucky Eye thing, was when you look at Origin, and it literally is halfway between what was it? It was commercial and high design, yeah. And basically, we have nothing commercial from them. Nothing. So how if they're halfway, and we've got like what 5 or 6 ships, where are the 5 or 6 commercial? Well, there's none.
So I would argue that touring is commercial.
Part of it, yeah. Okay, I'll give you that. Yeah, I can see that. Making money off the touring. Yep, absolutely.
But what else is coming is my question.
I've often speculated for a while a ship from Origin. So one of the numbers, what's there left? 200i, 500i, something like that has 2 shops in it. And I could easily see one that's high fashion, because we know that's a thing that's kind of slipped out from CIG. They've been working on fashion, especially for women. So a high fashion shop. And then you could have an antiquities in the same building, or you could have a restaurant, or tobacco lounge, whatever. And you can start to see the combos of that high end. And I'm talking like elitist jerk mentality. And we know that this is a thing because we saw concepts of the internals of buildings, and they had different restaurants. They had a high dining Origin-like experience for the top of the building, like where Old Man Hurston would be, and then they had like low-run takeaway shops and stuff down the bottom. That's 2 different shops, and I'm going to be honest with you. Do you honestly see them taking a Drake-like takeaway shop and putting in an Origin ship? I just don't see it. But having
no, it wouldn't make sense.
And we know that they have high, medium, and low tech, right? Same thing with the shop. So you have a high-tech shop, a medium-tech shop, and a low-tech shop. And there is room there, especially at the low end, when you have the solo shops, to have multiple, at least 3 styles of ship. And then when you go up to the doubles, maybe only 2. And then when you go up to the Banner Merchant and the Privateer, I could definitely see... Well, I think that's why the Banner Merchantman and the Privateer are there. You've got the high-end one in the Banner Merchantman, and then you've got the low-end one in the Privateer.
Right. With more function in the low end, but less.
But more high and elegant in the Banner Merchantman. So again, it's just the same thing repeated at the lower end. You're going to want to have those 3 there. And I don't know, I don't get a lot of responses on this stuff. Like, I know a lot of you guys just listen to us, but I put that out to you guys. Like, do you see there being multiple shops? Just let us know in the chat. I'll try and pick it up. But yeah,
I could see the 890 frame being expanded to a full 800 series.
But that is not a thing, because that's how the Banner Merchantman got where it is. Because of that original concept that the 890 had. There was a concept for the 890 had the shopping mall. with three shops. And what do we have? The Banner Merchantman has grown to the same size as the 890 Jump, and it has 3 shops. It's the same thing.
Sure.
I would bet money on it that they converted that. It went from a $250 ship to roughly the same size of the 890 Jump. Like, it's... And they've had Aurelian come in and replace the Merchantman because they clearly like the name Merchantman, and so they turned it into a merchant ship rather than just a cargo ship. I don't know. Again, it's just how can I just connecting dots? We could be completely off base, and there are things that we are like the Rambler. I was completely off base with the Rambler, and there was a lot of copium and speculation in that. But there are times where we get it right too. That's why we do this, because it's fun. You know, what else are we going to do at the moment? There's not much else to do. Anyway, let me know the next question. Or do you want to say something to that?
No. I think that this next question will be a fair amount of discussion. Citizen Scott asks, have y'all ever done the napkin math on how long it'll take to do each ship brand if they spend a year on each one? It's shocking.
Yes, it will take a while, but they are going to spin up more and more teams as time goes by. Everything's on a trajectory, mate. It's always been on a trajectory. Yeah.
So I think that the synergy with RSI made sense. There was a lot of RSI ships and possibly a schedule of ships that would come out this year that were very smart for them to target. I don't see them doing the same with the other manufacturers.
I can actually see them doing that. I can actually 100% see them doing that. We know that there is a few MISC, and there's a lot of ambush ships missing. You said it yourself, there's a shitload of consolidated Outland ships missing.
Yeah.
You know? And realistically, how far away is Star Citizen after Squadron 42? Is it another 5 years? That's 5 manufacturers in 5 years. I just put that question out to you. You know, like, and again, we're on a trajectory. They talked a lot about staffing at the last CitizenCon, specifically for the ships, and they showed the trajectory. I think it was 28 they were up to, but they lost a bunch of people when Paul Jones left. They lost like more than half their team, and then they had to build it back up. These developers do not grow on trees. I wish they did. It would be very handy, but they don't. So does that mean this year they got another 10, and they're up to 38? They can't just go and go, we need 200, bang. You can't go to Amazon and just order developers. So it takes time to grow them. And they're not going to want to stay. They've also been here for a long time. They want to move on. They might want to try a different game. They might get sick of Star Citizen. They might want to love Star Citizen and stay. You just don't know. So yeah. The only consistent in my life has been change. And I think there's an old saying about tradition. The only tradition is change. Have you heard that before?
Have not.
Yeah, something like that, anyway. But yeah. I don't know. Do you want to talk to that? I know I waffled a bit, but yeah.
People are going to leave the project. It is a.
Well, look at all the things. Look at all the things that happen in life, like kids and. People die and live and change countries, and
people's priorities change. People will find a significant other, get married, and the significant other will be like, I want to move to Finland.
Yep.
And CIG says, we don't have offices in Finland. Have a nice life.
That's essentially what happened. That's essentially what happened with Todd Pappy, isn't it? They essentially asked him to move to somewhere, but he also wanted to go back and be with his family because he'd been there for so long, so he had to move on. It happened with Mark Shelton as well. He's the gold shirt guy, if you've ever seen him. They wanted him to move to LA from Texas because they required him in LA. And I guarantee you now, if he was still working there, they would have moved him to England by now, right? And he just went, no, I want to spend time with my family. So he quit. And he was one of the judges, for crying out loud, on the Next Great Starship. That just shows you how high up in the system he was. And I think the only person besides Chris that's still there is Sean Tracy. All the others that were there have all moved on. You know, this is an example. Sorry.
Yeah. I think the Quantum guy has been there since the beginning, hasn't he?
You're talking about Tony Zerovic?
Yeah.
No, he came along later. He came along after Kickstarter.
Oh, did he? Okay.
It'd be like 2013, 20. It was before 14 though, because he came. Yeah, it would have been 2012, 2013, somewhere in there.
Okay.
I remember watching
next
the
question.
episode of Wingsman's Hangar when they introduced him, and he sat down and talked to him for like 2 hours straight. As Chris tends to do. Anyway.
Yeah, I would love to sit down and talk with him. I think that would be a fascinating conversation.
Yep. All right. Oh wow, we got a lot of questions from the same person.
Yeah. Do you want to close off the bot?
I've already done that. I'm way ahead of you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So we're done for questions for today. We've got about 5 minutes left, and we've got 5 questions. So let's hit it. And 4 of them from the same damn person. So he got a whole bunch here.
So let's answer one of this person's questions and then go to the other person that asked one, and then we can go back and try to.
Yep.
So the first one is it's Janos Morrissey.
Janos Morissette. It's a singer. Or was a singer. And they've just copied the name. Janos Morissette. Or Morrissey. Morissette was Janos Morissette, but he's Janos Morrissey. Right, my bad. Sorry.
After today's SD Live, it seems like the patch will be coming out very soon. Do you think that more stuff will be pulled from 3.23 to go live earlier?
No, I as I said earlier today, when I got in a patch, it was very improved performance-wise, and they said there's another patch coming today to increase performance again. So they're ramping it up to release it. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very likely to go live next week.
Yeah. Do that other one for Janice as well. So it says, with ship prices going up in the PU as well as vehicle prices, do you think it will cause more players to buy on the website instead of in-game? Just before sale seems suspicious marketing. I think it is because they've moved over and they've finally got a chance to work on things, so they're adjusting prices. We know that commodities are coming in, the cargo's coming in. It's just that they're starting to work on things. That's why things are changing. That's why there's these drastic things that people are losing their mind. Like, sorry to pick on you, Mr. Avenger 1, but he's losing his mind because it's not just the single fight meta anymore. They're going to multi-crew and they're doing this because they're actively finally starting to work on Star Citizen. It's just been dormant for so long. But there are all these plans that they were always going to do this. They're just going back and doing it. And it was very obvious to anyone that looks that was just things that didn't line up. It's why we said things to you like, why the hell would you buy a Hammerhead? Because you can look at a Reclaimer, and in-game the Reclaimer was cheaper. And that just didn't make sense. So they've had to change prices and that over the years. And I have no doubt a lot of the things me and Argot have said are going to change because of those prices. Sorry, Lemming.
So I don't think that there's going to be a wipe in 3.23 because having a wipe and bumping up ship prices the way that they did is a very bad look.
I don't know, because I also get people that want a wipe because it just gives them shit to do. So
right.
I think it really comes down to what the game needs.
Agreed.
At the end of the day. And it's got nothing to do with what we want at all. It's what they need. Is it a part of... And think about all the back end that's changed and all the rendering stuff. Does it need a wipe because of the renderer? Probably not. I'm very blasé about it because I'm like, yeah, I put the game first every time. If they need it because it makes life easier for them as developers, do it. I don't give two shits if I lose everything I've got in that case. You know what I mean? Because it's for the game. I'm here for the game. I'm not here to play this tech demo. I want to get to that where we're going to, and the quickest way to get there is to make their life easier. There is only a limited number of developers to go around, and if we're sitting here pestering them, they're not working on the game. That's why their website is shit, because they don't have anyone to work on the website because they're building a game. Matrix supplies, all that shit. Yeah.
I will say that the shopping cart improvements that they made this week are very pretty.
First time chatter on Twitch, Fire M says, for God's sake, it so desperately needs a wipe. Years of cheating. So yeah, that's another thing. It just resets it. There are people actually still selling Alpha UEC online and stuff like that. So yeah. Look, it doesn't affect me in that regard, and I know most of us here have more than one ship. I think the people that it really affects is the poor little guy with just an Aurora, because it sets him back to stage 1. But let's be honest, it encourages them to make friends. So that's only a good thing in my eyes. It's people out of their skin. Right, Hero Lex, do you want to do that one?
Yep. Do you ever see SIG adding a food truck ship to the game? 100%, absolutely, yes. It is coming. I just don't know when.
Paul did a lot of stuff towards that at last CitizenCon. He talked to one guy who said that, and I can't remember who they were. Go bug Paul in his stream, and he'll tell you, because he loves to tell stories. And he bugged one guy, and then he found this other guy, and he basically put them together and said, "You both want a food truck. Go make a food truck." And then he actually he introduced them and got them talking to each other. So, food truck comes out, we've all got Paul to blame.
I think that a food truck very clearly illustrates one of the problems with Pyro, and that it is a fix for the food situation in Pyro.
I also put this out to you though, but isn't a food truck just a shop ship?
Yes.
See what I mean? So again, if you have a Drake ship, an Origin ship, and somewhere in the middle like an Argo ship, isn't that 3 different tech levels, and you just put whatever you want in them? So I would argue a food truck is a shop ship.
It is.
And so you can have a different qualities of shop and stuff like that, and then you just have different skins. So if you have a Drake, you want a Drake taco truck, you just have a Drake ship with different skins, and you just provide decals so they can put the food logos on their ship.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing stopping you selling, I don't know, carburetors out of a food truck. So you could sell, ship-mounted guns out of your food truck.
Isn't that a cool kind of espionage looking thing though? Come get Poncho's tacos. Hey, want to buy some death sticks?
Exactly.
Or it's like it's a gun running armory ship or whatever, because it's a shop, so you can whatever goes into a shop, so it can, much like the gun shop or the ship gun shop, you could be selling those things as well. So yeah, it's kind of cool, like undercover. The same, and don't say it wouldn't happen in Origin ship, because it's totally going to happen. Like in what was that in Andor, where he sold antiques, but he was also had like a lot of legal antiques at the back, and he was running a whole spy operation through it. That's all emergent gameplay. So I'm an antiquities dealer, but really I'm a spy. What was the guy on Deep Space Nine? The hairdresser and clothing guy. And he was a Cardassian. Yeah, no, he was the Cardassian spy. Oh God,
yeah.
It's been a while. I've been hot minute.
But I can't name him.
Yeah, I can't remember him. Spoonhead guy, but and they actually deliberately would feed him stuff to send messages to the Cardassians sometime. It was Garrick, that's it. Garrick, yeah, that's the one. Yeah. But you can see the gameplay, guys. Can you not? It makes itself. And I the more time I spend with the Soul Citizens and people about Origin ships, I'm starting to see that most of their stuff is about role play and emergent stuff, right? Still not strong enough for me from a function standpoint, but at least I can understand it. Much like what I was saying earlier about when I did game design, I had to understand what other people enjoyed, right? And it's just taken me a really long time to learn what Origin is about. And I still hope they get some shop ships, because then it gives them some functionality. And I actually reckon I'll buy an Origin ship finally. And I have almost looked at a 400i and gone, that would be a really good A to B vehicle for me. But I've got other ships that can do that as well. So, anyway. Lemming, is there anything else you want to add? I know I'm ranting.
I definitely don't have a lot of Origin ships. Nope, definitely don't.
That's where you and I get on. No, I'm kidding.
I definitely don't have a 100 series, a 300 series, a 400, a 600.
Yeah. So what's so he's usually in Soul Citizens and the Yacht Club when I hang out there. So yeah, he's got a lot of them, but we still get on. We get on. There's tips for everyone. All right. Next we go down to 2 questions. Do you want to take one of those? I'm looking for someone to raid, by the way, while you do this. That's why whenever I'm looking up like this, I'm looking at the other monitor.
I don't Paul just went live.
All right, we might roll Paul then, and you guys can roll in, ask him the story about the taco truck. That might be a good way to do it.
This Janos asks again, what ship or vehicle, if any, are you looking forward to coming out in the ship's sale? I'm hoping for the Ursa Medical myself.
Yeah, I think it'll be the Ursa Manticore and the Miro Pulse, as we said earlier. Is there anything you would add to that, Lemming? And I think it'll be another unknown ship that we just don't know about.
I think what's that series called? I think a Zeus. I think the Zeus FR is a possibility. I think the Mirai Pulse is a 323 ship, not a IOW ship.
Agreed.
And I think the Ursa is likely IOW.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. What's his name? Henopen? That does not roll off my tongue. The Apollo as well. It was in Grey Box at the end of last year. Yeah, definitely it could be in there as well. And then you got the Mirai Guardian as well, that's been kind of shown off in the silhouette images as well. So yeah, there's a few. The Tally is ready. That could also be an Invictus military ship, like the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I that's confirmed for Invictus, I think.
Yeah. Pen. That does not roll up. Does not roll off my tongue. Pen. Right, but yeah, thank you for letting me know how to say it. Appreciate that. Right, last question for today. Yeah. We're going to be writing Paul though after this question. He is playing Helldivers. And if he's playing Helldivers, that likely means he's playing with Loken as well. But yeah, ask him a question about
democracy.
Yes, ask him about the taco truck when we rate him too. So yeah. Right,
last question is Al watching this? If he is, could you wish him all the best from us?
Yeah, he will watch it back, or I will tell him. At the very least, I'll tell him that you guys passed on your well wishes. So yeah, he'll be right. He's just got to get back on his feet. And I'm probably more nervous for him than he is, because it just took so long for him to get in to see a specialist. I don't think he's even got in yet to see a specialist, and it's been over a month. Yeah, he still doesn't quite know what happened. So you can only imagine what that's like living with. I collapsed, and I don't know why. So yeah. All we do is wish him well. Thank you for joining him today, Lemming. Thank you for Lentz helping out. Thank you for all the people that came and joined in Discord. Thank you for all the questions. Is there anyone else we need to thank, Lemming?
I think that's it.
Is there anything you'd like to hear from the people in the comments below, Lemming, specifically, or any questions or requests from the Discord? Because you do a lot of mod stuff on the Discord too.
What they're looking for out of Invictus.
Yeah. And to that note, I will be on Captain's Table tomorrow with Paul, and it is about ships for Invictus. So we're going to be going over a lot of what we went over here today again. And he's put me on with Naz. Oh, Nazara? I can never bloody remember. I always just call him Naz. So he'll be on there as well, and Paul. So yeah, I look forward to seeing you on that, and that'll be around about an hour before now, I think, or around about this time tomorrow. And he's also doing a 24-hour stream or a 12-hour stream or a really long stream. He's trying to raise money to go to CitizenCon now, because he's had a lot of people ask him that he wants to do that. Right. I've literally put in an ad break as I'm going to raid. Isn't that great? So all the Twitch people cannot say goodbye to the YouTube people, and the YouTube people cannot say bye to the Twitch, because the Twitch people are in the middle of an ad. Typical. Right, with that then, Lemming, say goodbye to Twitch. Twitch, I know you can't say goodbye, but YouTube, we're waving at you. We're waving at you. You have fun with Paul. And they're gone. They're in the middle of an ad. I feel sorry for them. So they're probably getting an ad, and then they're going to get raided into Paul. Right, that means I can probably raid YouTube into Paul as well if you give me a minute, but it's a lot more lengthy of a process, because the way they do it on here now, you got to do this redirect thing. Or is it add?
I don't know if he would be streaming Helldivers on YouTube.
He actually is.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah, it says the official Ministry of Truth live stream.
Oh.
I think that's so well done. He deserves a raid for that one. All right, YouTube. We will hopefully have an episode this weekend. If not, I'll probably have to get one of the Fix My Fleets out. We actually did a Fix My Fleet with Void Dude early. I think it was earlier on in the week. So you got that to look forward to for Invictus as well. And we're going to try and get a few more that Agrid's got lined up. So I'll have to talk to Agrid and we'll see what we come up with over the weekend, but I'm sure he'll be fine for that. All right, with that then, thank you for helping out, Lemming. I really appreciate it. Say goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody.
See you next time, citizens. Bye.